Order, please. We're going to begin with the Education Committee, and we just checked the sheets. No one has signed in for that. So Mr. Kern is in here. Mr. Fedorcha, if you would, please.
Meeting, sir. And at this point, looking at our agenda, I will then turn it right over to Dr. Stoker.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. Our first item on the agenda this evening is our 25-26 Bullying Prevention Initiative. This is something that we revise annually to show what actions we're taking to prevent bullying within the district. So I'm going to go ahead and show that bullying prevention plan that we have. And I'm going to begin with Peters Elementary School. Mr. Schneiderite will address anything that's changed since last year.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to highlight for you a couple of things. As you can see in the document, yellow are new initiatives or new things that are occurring at the school. Reds are crossed out as in they're no longer occurring. So at Peters Elementary School this year, we did a lot internally to work on our school-wide positive behavior support model, as well as creating initiatives within our school. If you remember, I reported to the board just a few months ago our Kindness Confetti Initiative, which is one of many little things that we're doing for the entirety. So my added pieces here, Dr. Stoker, number one, if you recall, we started a KinderQuest program last summer, which was extremely successful. One of the things and the goals of that program was to give our incoming kindergarten students the opportunity to, within a quieter, calmer, secure, safe environment, learn those school-wide principles that we expect them to adhere to throughout the year. So that's going to continue as one of our goals moving ahead. Again, I did report to the board earlier a few months ago regarding one of our school-wide positive behavior support initiatives, the Kindness Confetti. And we've included a number of other school-wide initiatives that were targeted towards reinforcing our responsible, respectful, safe, and proud Peters principles that, of course, move on to other schools as well. So those are my changes this year, and of course, you can have a moment to look at what is continuing. The only things that are removed were some assemblies that cost money, and we decide either we're going to do them or we're not. Again, this year our focus was really focusing on what we control within the building to create new initiatives ourselves. And the only other thing, again, was that Lehigh Valley Phantoms assembly, which, to be honest, if you do it every year, it gets sort of boring. So it could be one of those every other year type deals where we bring them in so everyone gets to see it, but it's not something that becomes second nature within the school. So any questions or concerns? Okay, thank you.
We'll move next to Slatington Elementary School, our 3 through 6 building. Mr. Briner.
Thank you, Dr. Stoker. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to, please forgive me in advance. I'm going to try to project as loud as I can. I'm a little still recovering from being under the weather. So at Slatington Elementary, there's one addition to it and then a minor just kind of tweak in terms of some vocabulary or an acronym that was absent. So we added in SWEBS, which is basically School-Wide Positive Behavior Support, just the acronym SWPBS. And then the addition that was added was the Kindness Corner. This is, as Mr. Schneiderite mentioned, kind of in connection with the school-wide positive behavior support. It's something that we do on a weekly basis where we are recognizing acts of kindness in our building. Teachers and staff members share with me acts of kindness, and then I highlight them for recognition in our weekly newsletter to try to encourage additional acts of kindness. And that is everything for Slatington Elementary. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Williams, our assistant principal for our 2 secondary buildings, will cover the middle school and the high school.
As you can see, and welcome everybody, as you can see, really there's not a lot of change in the programming that we are using for bullying prevention at both levels. You can see the minor change there. with the middle school boot camp and striking out the open house with the parents and students. So it's just kind of a rebranding of how we're going to be bringing students into the middle school level and taking them through what it would look like as they enter into the middle school. Really, when we take a look at our programming, what we're trying to do is start with our opening events at the beginning of the year to really reinforce our policy, really reinforce our stance on bullying, and then we try to marry that with what we do in-house throughout the year, some of the things that you can see on there, our Inspire team at the middle school, our PBIS team at the high school, our Avidum Club at the high school, and then what we try to do is form partnerships, like for example with the Center for Humanistic Change, our partnership at the high school with Knowlton, and our mental health counselors that are doing work with our students. And one of the other things that you'll see on there is we are, and it's the last bullet point that you're going to see under the 9 through 12 there. One of the things that we're taking a look at is starting to build a database so that we can identify where are we commonly seeing acts of bullying occurring. Are we seeing it with the same groups of students, targeted toward the same groups of students in the same areas? And we're going to utilize that database to make sure that we respond and then come up with different ways to try to be proactive with bullying that might happen in our schools. So, those are some of the things we're doing. It's continuing the programming and trying to tweak it, so there's not a whole lot of change that you see there. Any other questions?
Okay, and this is a document that does get turned into the state as part of our safety upload that we do on an annual basis. Mr. Hill does provide this bullying prevention program as one of the documents that we do give to PDE. Any questions on that?
Dr. Stoker, should that last date be changed to 2025?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda this evening is our Wellness Committee. Every 3 years, we have a triennial assessment that is conducted as part of our wellness initiative. Mrs. Fink is going to take us through that this evening. And then later in the policy agenda, you will see that we have the wellness policy also as part of our policy committee, just to see if there are any updates that anyone has to recommend for that policy. Mrs. Fink?
Good evening. Instead of having like an update during the cafeteria update under finance, the primary focus tonight for me was to just go through our triennial assessment, as Dr. Stoker said, that needs to be done for our wellness policy every 3 years. This is something that our wellness committee meets annually. And then every 3 years is when we go through the triennial assessment to assess, compliance with our wellness policy. But rather than going through each line item by line item on this assessment, I tried to get feedback from as many educators, admin, and other, support staff that are involved in, school wellness in general, and try to compile as much feedback as I can for each section of the assessment. So just to dive right in, I did kind of a lot for about 10-15 minutes at least to get through all of this, but I will try my best to get through it in a timely manner, so bear with me. The first section of the triennial assessment pertains to public involvement, notification, and assessment. So again, we have a designee in charge of our wellness committee and our wellness policy to make sure that we're implementing what we need to. And that would be myself, along with the support of Dr. Stoker when it comes to the wellness policy side. And our last assessment was conducted May 2022, which puts us due this year to assess our policy, and the results of the triennial assessment are always published on our school website under the cafeteria tab. And that's posted all year round, so anyone has access to that information. The wellness policy is updated again every 3 years. It is reviewed by our policy committee. It goes to the school board for first reading, second reading, and approval through board motion. And then we keep record of our assessments for 3 years plus the current year per federal guidelines. So regarding the first section of the triennial assessment, the public involvement, where we are in partial compliance. So we're in compliance with assessing our policy every 3 years and everything like that. Each section of this, I am going to state what we are in compliance with and then what we are only in partial compliance with and need improvement. So for the sections that we're partially compliant, utilizing a wellness committee that includes not only board members, administrators, nurses, PE teachers, parents, students, and community stakeholders. So currently we do not have a designated stakeholder on our wellness committee. Examples of this could include a local farmer, a local grocery store representative, somebody from local YMCA, things like this. This is something that we plan on seeking out to be part of the committee in future years. We also are considering holding our meetings instead of once annually, 2 to 3 times per year, at the beginning of the school year, at midway through the year, and then at the end. And then we also will be holding meetings ideally during school work hours so that it's just more accommodating for teachers and other staff members to come to the wellness committee meetings rather than in the evenings, off hours. The next section, moving right along, is in regard to nutrition education. We are in full compliance with the following items per the assessment. So Northern Lehigh School District implements a sequential age-appropriate health education curriculum that aims to promote lifelong wellness and help students make informed, healthy choices grades 1 through 11. We provide all students the knowledge and skills they need to lead healthy lives through comprehensive standards-based nutrition education. We offer age-appropriate nutrition education that includes engaging activities for the students at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. And our nutrition education curriculum equips students with practical, real-life skills like planning balanced meals, understanding nutrition labels, analyzing food-related media to support lifelong healthy decision-making. At the elementary level specifically, K through 5, ELA, math, and science programs, all of which have units and lessons directly tied to human health, development, nutrition, and agriculture. All the secondary levels, we have a variety of opportunities through family and consumer science offerings and PE health classes. The PE health curriculum is specifically designed to integrate lifelong nutrition and physical activity emphasis. The sections that we are in partial compliance for this category, the school food service and nutrition education classes, working together to create a learning laboratory. So we do food service, and some of the classes do work together, such as the life skills students and the teachers at Slatington Elementary work with food service to make various baked goods to sell on Friday to the staff and have utilized our cafeterias in that way. But we've identified there's more room for growth there to be more interactive food service and classroom interaction there. Staff providing nutrition education receive standards-based training and professional development. There are opportunities for teachers to get training and professional development and are encouraged to independently through our Flex PD program, but has had variable engagement between teachers throughout the years. So just more opportunities for professional development specific to wellness. We engage and involve families and the community in nutrition education efforts. We've identified this is definitely an area of growth for us for future years. Possibly, organizing more field trips to local farms and things like that, where we're inviting parents to attend and be chaperones, for example. Moving on to the third section, which is nutrition promotion, we are in full compliance with the following items. At Northern Lehigh, we use evidence-based techniques and nutrition messages in school to encourage participation in our school meal programs. Over the last few years, we have implemented the following types of meal services to encourage students to participate in both the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs. We have had grab-and-go breakfast at multiple buildings, whether that be coming through the cafeteria line, grabbing and go, or off of our mobile carts in the hallways, breakfast in the classroom at the middle school, second chance breakfast that just was implemented the second half of this year at Slatington Elementary, the lunch and learn model at the high school that was initiated this year. And these type of meal services make it more convenient for students to participate and take advantage of these programs. We also participate in some farm to school activities, not necessarily a school garden, but we have conducted taste testings and things like that. We do not have a school garden that supplies produce for our cafeterias. But we are part of what's called DoD Fresh program, which delivers local fresh produce to our kitchens weekly. That is incorporated into our menus for both breakfast and lunch. At Slatington, I know Mrs. Mendez has an indoor greenhouse, grows variety of vegetables. We do not have a local farmer that supplies us currently, but is something that we can look into for next year. The school cafeteria staff encourages consumption of whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and helps work together to decrease plate waste in our kitchens. So our food services department provides at least 2 different fruits and 2 different options for vegetable choices daily at all 4 schools. At least 80% of the grains that we serve in the kitchen are whole grains. And our cashiers encourage each student at the register to take all the meal components that are required for a reimbursable meal. At least one of the items chosen for both breakfast and lunch have to be a fruit and or vegetable, which is compliant with federal guidelines. The food service department has partnered up with a local company called I Have, I Need, where we donate food and beverage items from our share tables that will soon expire that we can't recycle in our stock. So federal guidelines do not allow us to, any unconsumed items that the student, say they don't get to drink their milk before, time is up for the day. They can put it on these share tables or share bins. We are not allowed to take that back into and recycle it in our stock. We have to either give that to nurses, to have on hand in their office, or we donate these items to the company I Have, I Need. We offer health and nutrition resources to parents via several links that are posted on our school website under the cafeteria tab. Information is regarding healthy eating and physical activity promotion. And then the following few items here that we are in partial compliance with is cooperating with community agencies and organizations to provide opportunities for student projects related to nutrition. In high school, students create and implement a personal fitness plan, but just looking, to local agencies again to help add to what we're already doing in the classroom and partner with to enrich, the students' learning. We do display consistent nutrition messages throughout the school, posters primarily in the cafeteria that encourage students to take a full meal with all the following meal components. So we always are offering a protein, a grain, fruit, vegetable, low-fat milk. We have expanded our meal offerings daily. Instead of just having a main and an alternate, there's actually 7 different types of reimbursable meals that our students can choose from. There's usually 2 hot meal items. There's salads, deli sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwich meals, and breakfast meals that we bundle together. So yogurt meals, cereal meals, things like that. So a bunch of different varieties as they come through the cafeteria. We are looking into some marketing material, like menu boards that are like LED lit menu boards to entice the students to participate in the lunch and breakfast programs. And those are something maybe potentially for next year we'll be able to hang up in our facilities. Our staff models healthy eating in front of the students and avoids using unhealthy foods in the classroom lesson plan. So this is something that, again, flagged as like partial compliance, because I did get some feedback from our PE department, and they are always trying to only consume food that it has nutrition value to it, and not, for example, giving students rewards of candy and things like that. So some of our staff is complying. What other teachers are offering in the classroom, we don't fully know and, are monitoring per se. And then moving on to physical activity is our next section here. We are in full compliance with the following items. So we provide a variety of opportunity for physical activity throughout the school day. At least 60 minutes a day is what's recommended by the CDC. At the high school this year, we have implemented the lunch and learn model, so that's a total of 73 minutes where students can utilize that time, half that time to eat lunch, and then the other half to engage in physical activity, whether that be basketball in the gym or any other physical activity. At the elementary levels, recess is provided daily to support physical activity, and not only that, but for social development and overall well-being. We offer activities such as indoor and outdoor recess, before and after school programs, intramural sports, athletics, and clubs to meet the interests of our students. And our student service plan lists all of our after-school activities that we offer. We maintain physical and social environment that encourages safe and enjoyable activity for all students by incorporating our school-wide positive behavioral support practices, and work with our safety committee, which regularly reviews and ensures the safety of our facilities. We discourage extended periods of inactivity for our students and encourage physical activity breaks. So teachers will give brain breaks, they call it, throughout the day in the classroom. And then we also have block scheduling at the high school specifically for the lunch and learn time, again, to allow for that break in the day to engage in physical activity. We offer the following sports here at our school: baseball, basketball, cheerleading, cross country, field hockey, football, soccer, softball, track, wrestling, and intramural weightlifting. If I forgot one, I don't think I did. A lot of different physical activities for the students. We do not use physical activity as a punishment in school, nor take away physical activity such as recess time for punishment. This is something that, again, one of our PE teachers specifically commented and answered, so we know for sure that that is not being done in that department of the school. So just, we have to, with our periodic meetings throughout the year, come next year, we will be able to further assess what the other departments are doing regarding physical activity, taking that away at recess. We encourage walking and biking to school within a 2 mile radius. We encourage students and families to use our facilities, such as playgrounds and ball fields outside of school hours. The NLYAA and other community groups use our facilities and playgrounds outside of school hours in accordance with our school rules. So those are all of what we are compliant with. And then there's one item in this section with partial compliance, and that is we currently do not have partnerships, again, with community members and organizations that offer programs to help support our physical activity. And this is an area of improvement that we're looking, again, to reach out to local parks, hospitals, YMCAs, things like that, to enhance what we're doing in the classroom. Physical education. We are in full compliance with the following. All PE lessons are in line with state standards and are displayed on the syllabus of the day, each day. All schools within the district provide standards-based PE programming, where K through 12 students actively participate to support health and wellness. Physical ed instruction given at all buildings builds skills and knowledge that students need for lifelong physical activity and wellness. Our physical Our PE classes at all levels foster student growth and improvement by providing opportunities to learn, practice, and be assessed on developmentally appropriate physical skills. Our PE curriculum promotes a variety of team and individual activities, including team sports, cooperative games and challenges, individual fitness activities such as running and golf, outdoor recreational type activities such as hiking and frisbee golf, and lastly, individual skill building exercises like jumping rope and weight training. We offer a comprehensive PE course of study with structured instruction time, ensuring students meet standards at the proficient level. Currently, the PE department is mapping out curriculum and addressing any areas that need improvement to ensure continued alignment and success. We use a local assessment system to monitor and support student progress aligned with state physical education standards. And students complete a fitness test 3 times a year, starting with a baseline assessment and then again measuring growth and progression throughout the year. A formal fitness test begins in 4th grade, and 3rd grade is served as the introduction to the fitness training process. Students engage in all grade levels with moderate to vigorous physical activity. Accommodations are provided for medical conditions and disabilities, and all IEPs and 504 plans are reviewed and followed. We ensure safe and well-maintained equipment, facilities, and resources for physical education with regular reviews and input from the District Safety Committee, and all teachers within the PE department are fully state certified. The areas on this section that we are in partial compliance include providing professional development for PE staff. PE staff are provided with professional development, but not always specific to that field. However, additional professional development is available as flex PD to the staff. And then PE classes have teacher to student ratio similar to other courses for safe and effective learning. So here, the typical PE class size is larger than what a typical other classroom averages. The second to last section is other school-based wellness activities. So NL is fully compliant with providing free drinking water available throughout the schools via our bottle fill stations and water fountains. Our school nutrition staff meet local hiring criteria and are in compliance with federal regulations. On Act 80 days, the food service department has utilized these days to keep up with their continuing education. We provide training on the following topics: food safety, HACCP training, civil rights training, meal counting and claiming, and offer versus serve training. For the food service director, 12 credits annually is what's required. For head cooks, which are our managers at each kitchen, 10 credits are required, and our cooks helpers, 6 credits annually are required. We provide adequate space for eating as well as safe, clean eating environment. Only authorized staff have access to our food service operation. This year, the high school students have been allowed to spread out throughout the school to eat meals, not just specifically restricted to our cafeteria space. For all schools, we offer a minimum of 15 minutes to consume breakfast and a minimum of 30 minutes to consume lunch. And we do, like mentioned earlier, we implement alternative school breakfast and lunch service models. So again, high school grab-and-go breakfast is provided from the cafeteria. Previously, we provided it on mobile carts. Middle school, we provide grab-and-go breakfast from the cafeteria currently. Previously, we tried breakfast in the classroom model. And then Slatington, we're currently doing a combination of traditional breakfast and then also have added the second chance breakfast off of mobile carts, and that's typically between that first and second period, so a little bit later, mid-morning. Nutrition information is published. Nutrition information on menu items is published on the School Cafe app, which students, staff, and parents have access to. We communicate information to parents and guardians regarding nutrition and wellness resources for families. Again, these resources that promote healthy eating and physical activity are on our website under the cafeteria tab. We utilize outside funding and programs to enhance our wellness policy. Each year, the Lehigh Valley Educators Credit Union donates $10,000 to support our Backpack Buddies program, which supplies non-perishable food items for consumption over the weekend. The areas where we are in partial compliance is including students and parents in menu selections through taste testings and surveys throughout the year. Taste testing and surveys have been conducted in the past years. However, really just 2 times a year, I have dietetic interns that come from Cedar Crest College twice a year. One intern is here for 6 weeks in the fall. One comes in the spring for 6 weeks, and typically they have various marketing projects that they have to fulfill as part of their program. So they have tended to be who does taste testings and pushes out surveys to get family engagement and input from the community to add to our menus. Fundraising projects submitted for approval are supportive of healthy eating and student wellness. So this is something that the district has acknowledged that our procedure for tracking fundraisers needs to be better established. So regulations allow for 5 exempt fundraisers at the elementary level and the middle school level, and 10 exempt fundraisers for the high school. So exempt meaning does not need to meet Smart Snack guidelines. So Smart Snack is snacks that are, or beverages as well, that are within a certain nutrient content, within a certain calorie limit, sodium limit, sugar limit, fat content limit. So that's just something we've identified that myself and the principals have to work together to track our fundraisers a little bit better to make sure we're not going above that number at each of our schools. And then the final category here is nutrition guidelines for all food and beverages sold at school. Northern Lehigh is in compliance with the following items. Our food service department serves breakfast, lunch, and shine menus that are all compliant with the national nutrient guidelines, and all snacks and beverages that we sell a la carte meet the Smart Snack nutrient guidelines as well. We do not allow for competitive foods to be sold like via vending machines or school stores during the school lunch hours. And we provide a list of healthy Smart Snack compliant foods and beverages to staff, parents, and guardians. So again, on our school website under the cafeteria tab, we have a list of all of our Smart Snacks and beverages provided. We are in partial compliance with offering healthy food and beverage options at our school-sponsored events such as dances and sporting events. Not all events have a healthy item to choose from, and majority of the items sold at sporting events, for example, are not compliant with nutrient guidelines. We have local standards in our policy for food and beverages offered for free to students at school for things like food rewards, classroom parties, things like that. We do have a birthday basket program at our elementary schools. If a parent or guardian wants to celebrate their student's birthday, they can fill out a form, and we put together birthday baskets that include little toys like from Oriental Trading, smart snacks, either smart snack compliant bags of chips, healthier ice cream versions, and then also cookies and cupcakes that are all compliant. So they can have, sign up for that and celebrate birthdays that way. However, not all classroom reward snacks currently are being monitored for compliance. So again, that's just an area that we've identified that we have to work on. So in sum, just focusing on reaching out to local stakeholders, having adequate wellness trainings for any of our departments that oversee our wellness policy, and then monitoring our snacks and our fundraisers a little bit closer that are coming in and out of the school. Those were the 3 key items to look into for next year. I think that covers it all. I know I've been talking for a long time, but if anybody has questions about anything, I can answer that now.
Thank you, Nikki. And I just want to reiterate, that is an internal audit that the Wellness Committee did of our programs and services, correct?
Yeah.
Mrs. Fink,
Thank you.
Mrs. Fink, thank you for being so thorough. Every year that we go through this, or every 3rd year, you do an excellent job, and I appreciate everybody's input to her along the way, and continue to reach out with us for support to improve in those areas. So good job. Thank you.
Okay. Our next item on the agenda for this evening is professional development. Mr. Pine and I would like to just highlight some of the things that are going to happen here over the summer with regard to professional development. First in the list is summer collaboration days. These are 3 days in the summer that our administrative team comes together. We do a whole bunch of different things during that time. We receive professional development from outside sources or from one another. We examine data that has occurred for this current school year moving into next year. We have discussions about how the school year went and essentially debrief those, and then talk about where we're looking to go for the next school year. So we will come together in June at the end of the school year, right after the students and faculty have left for the summer. And then we have some days in July where we kind of amp up and start planning for the return of everybody in the 25-26 school year. The next item up there is our new Educator Week. So as we fill positions, we have teachers that are newer to the district that return in the summer. They come a week before all of the rest of our teachers come for their in-service week. These are, by contract, teachers within their first 3 years of employment with the district. They come over this summer, and on August 11th, for brand new teachers, they go through our orientation program. What that looks like is all of our district administrators give a little bit of an overview of what each of the departments does. Then in the midday, they have a lunch typically provided by Northern Lehigh Education Association. So we've partnered with them in the past and appreciate what they do for our new teachers. And then in the afternoon, the new teachers typically go out to their buildings. They get to meet with their mentors or helping teachers. Our principals give them a tour of the building, and then they have time to talk about their classroom with their mentor. August 12th and 13th will be anyone who is going through year 1 of induction. In Pennsylvania, they've moved from a 1-year induction program to a 2-year induction program for new teachers. So those first 2 days after the orientation will be for any teacher in their first year of employment with the district that have not gone through induction previously. And then August 14th is anyone who's going through their second year of induction. That's 1 day that's available for them to go through that state mandated induction program. CLIU 21 runs our induction program for new teachers. We've partnered with them, and they're actually going to host that for the larger Lehigh Valley here at our campus. So we're potentially looking at the Northern Lehigh High School to do that more broadly, but our teachers will also attend that. For people who do not need to go through an induction, but are new teachers to the district, we have other targeted professional development that they work on. They work on setting up their classrooms, going through curriculum, meeting with their helping teachers or mentors during the summer as well. Additionally, this is several years now that there's been an EdCom Summit, it's called. Whitehall School District has started with 3 school districts, it moved to 6 districts, and now they cover everybody that the IU covers in the Lehigh Valley as well. They have come together to have a professional development sessions on a more large scale basis. These are professional development sessions that are given by a lot of the teachers and administrators in all of the districts that participate, and all of the faculty are able to go to that experience if they're so interested on August 14th. So that's another opportunity that our educators have for professional development in the summer. Moving on to office staff. Our office staff for the first time this year participated in a networking experience. Administrative assistants went out to CLIU 21. They had a program called the Heart of the School, and several of our staff attended that. They really enjoyed that. They felt that the professional development that they got was very useful to them, and they were looking for that to continue. CLIU 21 is going to continue that program for them as a networking opportunity and professional development for them during this school year. We are also looking to continue that just because of the feedback that we got from our office staff about some other professional development that they would like to have. So I've been working with Mrs. Dunham, our technology integration specialist, and she's looking to put together some trainings for our office staff. She sent out some surveys, got some feedback about what specific trainings they would like to have, formats for those trainings, length of those trainings, things like that. And so we are going to develop a training program for them that they can access over the summer as well. And then lastly, we have our 25-26 school year PD planning. Mr. Pine, I'll turn that part over to you.
Sure. Yeah, speaking of Ms. Dunham, as well as Ms. Bariana and Ms. Wilder, the four of us got together and we put together now this plan for next year, the summer into next year, for professional development. And obviously, a lot of the professional development we do will still be planned over the summer with all the building and admin, but these will be the things that the EdTech C&I department will be developing either asynchronously, but more often now through blended learning, where there's a combination of asynchronous content that teachers are learning combined with in-person, typically cohort type models where they're working through problems together. You'll see that half of the offerings now have some sort of integration of AI in them. We are really moving towards trying to use AI first and foremost right now with our teachers in order to accelerate our ability to make database decisions, to be able to quickly get data and then figure out what to do with it, and be able to translate that into recommendations for action. But then ultimately for our students, by creating more timely and actionable feedback where they can get very quick feedback on responses to things, particularly helpful with writing. And the whole idea here is to streamline that process so that teachers can monitor and keep an eye on feedback, but then also use technology in order to accelerate it, to get it back to the students as quickly as possible. The whole goal here with all of these, whether it be the AI integrations for data, personalization, feedback, or a lot of the work we're doing on building thinking classrooms and implementing strategies that really leverage up students thinking in the classroom rather than sort of passive like mimicking. So those are really the focal points for all of the work that we're doing, is student engagement, problem solving, and increasing student thinking. So those will continue to develop, but that's where we are right now. Those are the things that we're working on creating. If there are any questions.
I have two questions. One, I'll start with Dr. Stoker on the professional development side. The three that you listed, is that just professional staff, our administrators, teachers, or does that encompass all of our staff, including our maintenance team, our cafeteria workers, our...
Which ones are you referring to?
Just that section in professional development in general. What professional development are we providing to those individuals? Where I believe this is more towards our administrative staff and teachers and office staff. There's still another portion of the business, for lack of a better word, but how are we reaching those individuals with professional development? Is that also during the summer, or is that a different time?
So some of that occurs during the summer, some of that is during different times, like our Act 80 days currently, or our virtual instruction days. They'll be considered next year. So it happens at different ways, at different times, for different categories of our working staff. I will turn it over to Mrs. Dada, because she can talk a little bit about what that looks like for our paraprofessionals.
So our paraprofessionals every year, in order to maintain their highly qualified status, they need 20 hours
So that could be divided into CPR, CPI. We do some independent so that they can choose some online learning models, as well as then doing some things with their collaborative teachers. So that's normally done in the beginning of the year, as much as possible, although it does stretch throughout some of the in-service days.
Is that information defined somewhere, or is that kind of up to the individual to do?
So in the beginning of the year, during the summer, we sit with everyone, but then I develop a schedule for what needs to be done, completed. We have so much turnover too, that it's often repeated so that everybody gets the same information. That's why there's different groups depending on when they started, so that I can differentiate between who has already had a training, if they need the initial training, if they can just do the renewal training. So it's kind of differentiated that way.
Okay, just looking to make sure that we're progressing and holding them accountable to those trainings, but also providing enough training to keep them wanting more training. So just making sure we're touching on that. That was just because we only talked about that. The second question I have is in regards to the AI program, and how are we either collaborating with other school districts? I know the IU has a program that they're helping with. What are we using, or are we kind of divide and conquer on our own?
So, I mean, we've had conversations at joint council with other curriculum leaders around the Lehigh Valley. Last year, actually, every meeting we had a standing item to talk about AI and how people were using AI. A lot of it right now is coming from the coaches' meetings. Ms. Dunham goes to the instructional tech coach meetings each month. They collaborate and work together a lot on just kind of coming up with ideas. To be honest, a lot of this is so new that I think that is going to be the key, though, even internally, having more people talking about it, developing use cases, like just trying things, and then figuring out how to save tons and tons of time. I think that it's going to be a lot of exposure that we're really looking to get right now. And then I think down the line, I mean, we may continue to see, collaborations with other districts to sort of work through it. I mean, we have professional development opportunities where we interact with other districts. We're presenting 2 AI sessions, I think at least at the summer
Nice.
program at Whitehall. Yeah.
Good. Like to be open to those concepts because, as you said, it's new. So we're all going through it. And when I say we all districts are going through it, and kind of bouncing what's good and bad off of them is going to be helpful as we kind of navigate those waters. Thanks for taking the lead on it.
I would just add to that, Mrs. Husak.
That just about all the school districts in the Lehigh Valley participate in the Lehigh University School Study Council. The entire theme this year has been the future is now, and what are school districts doing to kind of harness artificial intelligence in a responsible and ethical way. And it looks like that theme is going to carry over into next year because the feedback is it's very helpful. That is primarily targeted towards our administrators and our technology instructional specialists, our staff members that we take to those, and then we help. The idea is that they turn it around here. And then just a thought on your previous question, for departments like maintenance and custodial staff that Mr. Mann oversees, or the food services department that Mrs. Fink oversees, they also participate in the annual trainings around things like mandated reporting, safety and security around the school district, de-escalation. Those type of trainings are ongoing annually for all departments, actually for all employees in the district.
Great, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions on professional development? Okay. The last item on the Education Committee agenda this evening is the Amplify CKLA Grade 3 class. So I will turn it over to Mr. Pine.
All right, so this is an anticipated addition that will recur for the next several years. This is as a result of that bubble class that we have, where we have that teacher who's been floating through. So as that position continues to float through because of that large class, we're going to just need an extra class set of materials. We decided not to purchase all of those in anticipation of this at the same time, because we'd be paying for 6 years for something that we really only need for 1 year in each grade level. So each grade level that we do it after, afterwards, that the number of years is reduced, therefore the cost is reduced. So you'll see it's $2,158.93. I'd like to write up a motion for the school board, if we have the board support to make this purchase. The funds would be out of the curriculum instruction budget.
Does any board members have objection to putting that on the agenda? If not, will you put it on the agenda, please? Thank you. Is that it? Is there any other questions or comments from the board? Any other items? If not, I will adjourn the Education Committee and turn it over to the Policy Committee. Mrs. Huzak.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. Sorry. I will turn it over to Dr. Stoker to go through our pages and pages of policy.
Thank you, Mrs. Husak. So this is our policy committee agenda for this evening. I will take us through the policies as quickly and as thoroughly as I can. Many of the updates that you'll see are repetitive. They're changing for a reason, and then that reason kind of flows through several different policies. So the first policy that is up this evening is Policy 103, Discrimination, Harassment Affecting Students. Our policy was last updated in 2024. However, the Title IX regulations changed from 2020 to 2024 and then back to 2020 regulations. So many of the policies that are going to come up, we have to go back to what the regulations were in 2020 and adjust all of the language that had changed in those policies. As that was occurring, PSBA took that opportunity. PSBA is Pennsylvania School Boards Association. That's the group that we use for policy recommendations through their legal counsel. As they were going through these policies, they took that opportunity to make any other updates that were necessary. So some of these that you will see included in here are additional updates to address amendments to the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act, or PHRA, regarding religious creed as a protected classification and specific definitions for pregnancy, race, and religious creed. So if we look at page 3, these are where the changes begin. Anything that's in red is what is taken out or deleted from the policy. Anything that is in green is what's being added into the policy. So the first one you'll see there is it initially said Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights. It now says Office for Civil Rights, so they took out the particular person and it's more general to the department. Further down, they were talking about different areas in which there could essentially be discrimination. Admission of students was added in. On the next page, they changed the tense from has to may have. As you've seen in many of the policy updates, if you've been kind of following along over the past few months, they've changed a lot of police to law enforcement agencies that oversee the district. Same has happened here. You'll see a more general form. Instead of the discrimination, sexual harassment, bullying, hazing, dating violence form, it's just now designated district report form. It also, we can receive reports. It used to say verbal, now it says oral reports. Getting into the larger change, you'll see on page 5. These updates address that amendment to the PA Human Relations Act I spoke about earlier. So this is a definition now, has been updated for pregnancy, for race, and for religious creed. And then below again, you'll see religious creed updated there. Supportive measures, here it says that the Title IX coordinator, who is myself, shall consult with the Director of Special Education, which is Mrs. Dada. So any situations where we have IEPs, 504s, Mrs. Dada oversees that. So she would need to be in consultation with me, which happens when we have Title IX cases that involve students that fall in areas that have those agreements. Here, crimes of violence was stricken. It now just reads includes felony or misdemeanor, bless you, crimes committed by, so that word was removed. On the next page, training, it used to say provided training for students and staff to prevent, identify, and alleviate problems of discrimination. Now it's changed to conduct which may constitute discrimination. Again, number 3, we've switched from police to law enforcement. The next page, just the letter A was missed there. Again, religious creed at the bottom. So those are all of the changes to policy 103. Any questions? Hearing no questions, the board the board members present give us permission to move that to the board meeting next Monday for a first reading.
Yes. Moving forward.
Okay. Our next policy is policy 103.1, non-discrimination of qualified students with disabilities. This policy was last updated in 2019. The policy, again, was revised both to align with the terminology and provisions of the revised 103 policy that we just went over. So getting to the policy. On the bottom of page 3, this is who the coordinator of 504s is, which again is Mrs. Dada. And then the designee is typically somebody within the school buildings that oversees those in each of those schools, which usually falls to our school counseling department. And I believe that's all that's been updated in that one. Yep, that's the extent of the changes in that policy. So that policy is recommended for legal liability purposes. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, do we have the ability to move that one to next Monday night for a first reading from the board members that are present?
Yes.
Yes. Based on those present? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our next policy is policy 104. This is discrimination, harassment affecting staff this time. This policy was last updated in 2014. Again, the policy, because of the revision from the 2024 regulations back to 2020 regulations, we had to update policies that impact staff as well. And you'll see some of the other changes that we spoke about earlier. On the top of page 3, you'll see religious creed and pregnancy or pregnancy-related medical conditions spoken about on top. Again, we talked earlier about it moving from a position within the Civil Rights Department to the office, so that has been changed in this one as well. Applicants, again, for jobs has also been included in here, just like it was enrollment of students. Title IX coordinator instead of the building administrator. Next one, incidents are reported to the Title IX coordinator. Moving further down, if for some reason I, as the Title IX coordinator, were to either initiate a complaint or one was initiated against me, there needs to be somebody that's impartial that would oversee that. That would then defer to our superintendent, Dr. Link. So that's the next part. The designated district report form, again, has been added in there as a more general term rather than kind of that long title of what the form was called. Verbal reports to oral reports. Moving on to page 4. Instead of circumstances, now it's talking about conduct. Instead of saying this policy, it says board policy. Any form of conduct that may constitute discrimination, so it took out the any form of. In any manner was added into number 2. Harassing was added into number 3. Again, you'll see the larger definitions change for pregnancy or pregnancy-related medical conditions on top. Discrimination, religious creed was inserted there. Harassment, that definition was updated as well. And further down, you'll see that that definition was updated too, again, for all of the categories which may have discrimination. Religious creed and race being on page 6. And then at the very bottom, supportive measures, they put a broad category in here, so changes in work locations or other activities. And I believe that it was just the same of violence stricken from this definition like it was in the other policy. So those are all the changes to policy 104. Policy 104, any questions on that?
Just for clarification, Dr. Stoker, the last time that was updated was 2024 or 2014?
This one was last updated in 2024.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, not hearing any other questions, can we move that one for first reading to the board meeting next week?
All those present are in agreement to move it forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, next one is policy 111. This is lesson plans. Our policy for this one was last updated in 1999, so the policy was rather old. This one really has been a true collaboration between the administration and our teachers union and the NLEA. This policy is an optional policy, but we thought it was one that we should have and should have updated beyond 1997, so that it really shows what we do with regard to lesson planning in the district, and that it matches what's happening at this point in time. So the first part is authority. This is kind of our why. Why do we need to have this policy? What is the purpose of this policy? Under the next section, delegation of responsibility. This essentially says that lesson plans are created by our professional educators who use their expertise. We know that our educators know their content best, so this just delineates that they're going to be the ones creating the lesson plans. Further down, plans should be created at the building level and or department level, allowing for collaboration between teachers in similar grade levels and or content areas. So again, this gives us some flexibility within the policy. The next line indicates that lesson plans must be prepared at least 3 days in advance. In the older policy from 1997, it was 1 week in advance, but we all know that we are, as teachers, that it should be responsive to what's happening in the classroom from students, and 7 days, it's hard to put 7 days of lesson plans together and then change those lesson plans up to reflect what's happened in the classroom over the past day or so. So we shortened that to 3 days. The next line says lesson plans shall be completed and submitted in the designated online platform. So those are things that we're talking through about what that will look like. Teachers are to provide adequate directions for substitutes. So we want to make sure any of our permanent substitutes or any of our per diem substitutes that are coming into classrooms also have access to those lesson plans. Next part is our guidelines. So lesson plans will be developed using the district template, but customizable at the building level, as we said earlier. Teachers are required to be thoroughly prepared for each daily lesson, and lesson plans shall be differentiated to meet the needs of all students in the classroom. So that includes any of our students with disabilities, our ESL students, any students that need to have differentiation to meet the needs of those learners. Okay, any questions on that policy?
Dr. Stoker, can you go to the first section under the responsibilities? I believe that should say created by professional educators. So if you can make that correction before accepting.
Thank you. Good catch.
Any other board members? Good to post? Okay to move to board agenda.
Thank you very much.
I did have one question. It says that they have to have the lessons for review. Can you tell me who would review those lessons?
Where are you looking at?
I think it was part of the way down, you talked about that the lesson plans, you said they were going, there we go, shall be completed and submitted in the designated online platforms for review. I didn't know who would review those plans.
Sure. So they would be online for review, so any of the administrators can take a look at those. We're hoping that the platform that we plan to use is going to be accessible from anybody that would be doing walkthroughs to the building principals. So the building principals would be the ones that would be ultimately responsible for looking at those lesson plans, but any administrator would have access to those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. And I think you said we're okay to move that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Our next policy is policy 113.1, discipline of students with disabilities. This policy was last updated in 2021. It's mostly being updated for terminology as we've seen the other policies be updated this evening. We are looking at page 4 of 5 for the first one. So students not identified as disabled or pending evaluation, that's the new component that's been added there. Moving further down, under referral to law enforcement and reporting requirements, it's no longer just tobacco, it's tobacco products because there are vapes and different paraphernalia that can be used for tobacco products. Under the Safe Schools Act, it's no longer the Safe Schools Act that's being referenced here, it's now school code. Again, police department has switched to law enforcement agency. And then the Office of Safe Schools at PDE no longer exists, so it's just the PA Department of Education. So those are some of the updates to policy 113.1. This policy is recommended for legal liability purposes. Any questions on that policy? Okay, do we have the ability to move that one to next Monday for a first reading?
Yes, those present.
Okay, thank you. The next one is policy 113.2. This is behavior support. This policy was last updated in 2021. Again, you're going to see very similar updates to this as well. Our first update is on page 5. Again, you see local police department has been changed to law enforcement agency. Local law enforcement has been taken out. It's just law enforcement. And at the bottom of page 5, same thing there. Local police department is now law enforcement agency. Same thing on page 6. And this is just because sometimes it's not the local police department that responds to different parts of our school district, depending on who has jurisdiction. Okay, and so policy 113.2 is mandated by Chapter 14 of State Board of Ed regs. So, any questions on that policy? Okay, hearing none, do we have the ability to move that one forward to Monday night for a first reading?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next policy is policy 130. This is homework. This policy was last updated in 2006. When I reached out to PSBA and asked them for their newest version of the policy, the newest version of the policy that they have is from 2008. So we've decided to take the 2008 policy, which is a little bit more updated than ours, and then make it more current to us and to what happens here with regard to homework. Please know that this is the policy. There are some administrative regulations that go along with this policy that dive deeper into some of the pieces that are talked about broadly in this policy. So again, the purpose of homework, the board recognizes that homework is an integral part of the educational process that reinforces classroom learning. As we get into authority, that's really the purpose of what homework we see as a district. The guidelines, each student should be responsible for completing their homework. Homework shall align with curricular objectives, complement classroom instruction, be planned, evaluated with respect to purpose, appropriateness, and completion time. Homework shall be appropriate in length, difficulty, and frequency for students' developmental levels and individual needs. That's where one of the ARs dives a little bit deeper. Homework should be purposeful and serve the best interests of the student. That's something we discussed at length with our admin team. We wanted to make sure that homework is not just given as busy work, but is purposeful in nature. And homework should not be assigned as a form of punishment. And then lastly, delegation of responsibility. Superintendent or designee shall oversee the development, implementation, and review of this. This is a recommended policy through PSBA. Any questions on policy 130? Okay, do we have the ability to move that one forward? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there any other level of review for grade inflation because of homework participation? Is that something that's addressed in this policy? Is that another directive at another level? Or how do you monitor participation in handing in homework as a grade inflation opportunity?
So it's typically at the building level, right? Our principals monitor that at the building level. They're looking at report cards, grades. We look at PSSA and Keystone results and our local assessments in comparison to the grades that are happening in classrooms as well. So that's part of our data dives. I would say that principals take teachers through, and paraprofessionals, through that data dive, looking at all of those assessment pieces that come together to see if we have grade inflation happening, and if we are, ways that we can address that.
Please do. Thank you. Just something to consider. I see it, when looking at your Power School app, I see points and numbers driven because of a homework assignment turned in and grades of an assessment or classwork. Just to look at that in a holistic approach, giving a student, I don't know, make it up, 200 points because they turned in homework assignments as part of that. I don't love seeing that as part of that grade at that level, at that percentage level increase.
Sure. And some of the ARs that go along with this, one is time for homework, beginning at kindergarten all the way up through high school, how much time should be associated with homework. Some of those, content area, core contents versus some of the encores that we have and how much time should be spent on that homework. And then we're also going to dive into a little bit more detail about what you're talking about. So some of those ARs will address this in more detail.
Fantastic. And then I don't know if the curriculum that you're putting together, if anywhere that ties to assist our parents or whomever has that child at the time to be able to assist with that homework assignment. Sometimes, not to joke about it, but they teach math differently today than when I was in school 25 years ago. I don't know. But there's ways to do it based on the way the current curriculum is and the student is being taught in class that may cause some frustration to our community members, being that parent or that individual helping. What is going into that to be able to assist with that when we're talking about homework in general, not just to have the student kind of struggle and the parent get frustrated. That's no benefit to anybody.
Sure. I mean, any parent can reach out to any teacher at any time if they're struggling with helping and supporting their child. I know at the elementary level, we've been having family engagement meetings. I don't know if you want to talk about some of the parent support sessions that you guys have been having. We've done some of that stuff during the pandemic with regard to homework as well. At the secondary level, I know Mr. Hauser and Dr. Bali are not here this evening, but Mr. Williams, if you want to talk about anything. But the Coffee and Convo, they dive into some of those conversations with parents as well, like how can we help you help your child? and make sure that they are able to support their child with homework at home as well. Go ahead.
I can give some information, but also a little plug. Mr. Briner and I just sent out our Title I survey. Each year is a Title I school. We're both school-wide Title I schools. We send out survey to all parents and guardians of our students. And one of the questions we've had on there for years now is, how comfortable do you feel helping your child with their reading homework? How comfortable do you feel helping your child with their math homework? So that's the kind of data when we get back and sort of talk about it at the end of the year with families. We sort of have a discussion about that, about ways we can support our families. So I encourage anybody that's a Peters parent or a Slatington parent or guardian to fill out that survey, because that gives us a lot of great information. So plug.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Neely.
So if I, just to the point about math, as we're looking at new math programs, that is on our list of priorities.
Perfect.
Is programs that support a teacher's ability to communicate to parents what to help with and what not to. The other thing that is coming out a lot is in the math programs, making homework part of a student's self-evaluation. So if they don't get it, they don't get it, right? That's if they do, then they're able to come in the next day and say, I successfully did the homework. And that provides information to the teacher, as opposed to, I think right now, a lot of times, students are getting home and they don't know how to do it. They may be pushing and leaning into the parents who are also struggling. So we are looking at, in the programs that we're examining, that as a feature to definitely prioritize.
Perfect. Thank you for taking that initiative on.
The only thing I would say at the secondary level is, especially when you get to some of the content that is so specific that a parent's probably not going to be able to help in terms of understanding, I think the biggest thing that we would ask is reaching out to the teacher and finding out how you as a parent can help direct your student to get the help that's offered during the day. The biggest thing for us is the time that we made available during Lunch and Learn. That model, Lunch and Learn, is something that I really value, because you have a period in time in the day when all students and staff are free. And so it's not that a staff member who teaches this content area is teaching a class so a student's free and they can't get access. There's access for half of 73 minutes every single day. So the biggest thing is, and I agree with Mr. Pine, the homework is going to be a self-evaluation, whether or not I understand the concepts. The best way the parent that I believe can help is helping and supporting us in getting that student to the help that's available from that teacher teaching that content. And for us, especially at the high school level, it's that Lunch and Learn period where they have access to that teacher every single day and utilizing that time. But that communication between the parent and the teacher, I think, is critical, and please never hesitate to reach out. That would be my message.
The only thing I would like to add real quick is along the lines of what Mr. Schneider was saying regarding collecting feedback. Dr. Stoker alluded to this a little bit earlier. It's kind of off topic from math, but we were getting a lot of feedback last year of parents struggling with just different parenting issues. So this pretty much entire year, not the entire year, but 6 sessions out of our family engagement meetings this year, we ran parenting sessions and partnered with the CHC that came in and ran different topics on parenting. So, and just how to help your child. So that feedback that Mr. Schneider suggested in terms of our survey, we're seeing a large number of our families struggling in math. That is something that we can certainly help with by running different sessions for them. Also, a lot of our teachers do have kind of, I'll say, short instructional videos that parents can access at home to help help a lot with the math. So.
Thank you for the information.
Okay.
And you also can't tell a student to write 500 times, I will not do whatever.
Not anymore.
I can't do that anymore, okay.
Back to looking at the board for policy 130, putting that on the agenda.
Yes.
Well, good. All are okay with moving that, Dr. Stoker?
Okay, thank you. Our next one is policy 236.1, threat assessment. This policy was last updated in 2023. This policy has been updated to follow school code. So I will click on this one. I think our first change is on, these pages aren't numbered. The bottom of page 5, I think that is. So it says, the threat assessment team shall establish and implement procedures in accordance with the district's memorandum of understanding. And again, we have an MOU. It just needs to be with each law enforcement agency having jurisdiction over the school property. So that was added to clarify that. Further down, again, you'll see that the Safe Schools Department of PDE is not there any longer, so it talks about school safety and security incident reporting rather than that department. Tobacco products was added. Under the Safe Schools Act was removed, and it's now under the provisions of the school code. Local police departments, now law enforcement agency, and I think all of the rest of these are just the same as we've discussed. Okay, 236.1 is a policy that's recommended for legal liability purposes. Any questions on that? Okay, not hearing any. Do we have the ability to move that one forward for first reading on Monday night?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the next policy is policy 607. This one was last updated in 1997 as well. This is a policy that we don't really implement, but we do need to have this policy. Essentially what it is we can potentially take tuition students. Northern Lehigh does not take tuition students, but the policy is recommended that we have it regardless. So I will click on this. This policy, essentially in green, says that the district has no obligation to accept tuition students. However, if we choose to, it would need to be recommended by the superintendent and approved by the school board. Tuition would then be assessed to those students who are educated at Northern Lehigh. Responsibility was changed to delegation of responsibility. Guidelines was titled put in there. And then if we were to do this, tuition rates would be determined annually. The business office would accept the payments, send out the bills. If it were more than 45 days overdue, services would be terminated. A student attends for more than 2 weeks, then they would be charged for a full month. So again, this is not a policy that we implement. We don't take tuition students. However, we do need to have a policy should that be something that ever occurs. Any questions on that?
I actually was approached by someone over the summer who asked if Northern Lehigh actually had that they could register their student as a tuition student, and I didn't think that is something that we did. You know if any districts do that? Because to me, that's just like a charter school type.
I'm not aware of any school districts in our intermediate unit that do that, so Lehigh and Carbon County. Last time we kind of had this conversation as a group, I don't recall any school districts saying that they're actively accepting tuition students from other districts. Now, is it happening in other parts of the state? I'm not certain.
But it's not a process. It's not something that's happening around here.
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that policy? Okay, hearing none, do we have the ability to move that one forward for Monday night for first reading?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The last two policies that are listed here this evening are not policies that we're currently recommending any changes to. They're really just here for review. As we discussed during the Education Committee meeting, we went over the triennial assessment for the Wellness Committee. So policy 246, student wellness, I put this on the policy agenda just in case there were anything that anyone saw that we should update as a result of that assessment. So I will leave that open for a second. And then the second one is policy 918. That's Title I, Parent and Family Engagement. As we've been talking about a little bit here with our two principals at the elementary schools, Mr. Schneiderite and Mr. Briner, we just recently hosted at the end of April the Title I Parent and Family Engagement meeting that we have to have annually. We actually do it in two parts. The first part, we come together, we go over all of the documents, talk about the Title I program and how that's been working in our elementaries, and make recommendations for updates. We send out the parent survey. Then we come back together in May again, and we talk about the survey results and where we want to go with our Title I programs for next school year. So again, we have to have, by law and accepting of those federal funds, a Title I parent and family engagement policy at the district level, and then each building that serves under that Title I federal funding has to have their own plan, which both of our elementaries do. We have that from K to 6. So again, these two policies are just here for review, and I'll open it up to anyone. Are there any recommended updates to the student wellness? We'll start with that one first. Okay, so hearing none, this will not go to the board for next Monday because there's nothing being changed. It will just essentially, as we update it on the school district board docs, it'll just say last reviewed, and then we'll have the date that it was reviewed at the committee. And then the last one on there is the policy 918, the Title I Parent and Family Engagement. Same here. Are there any recommendations for changes to this policy? And I will open it up to Mr. Schneiderite and Mr. Brenner. I don't believe that there were any at the committee as well, correct?
There were not, that's correct.
Okay, not hearing any, then again, this would not move to Monday night. We would just update it on our board docs, which is our front-facing policy catalog, just saying that it was reviewed here as is required annually. All right, that's all we have for policy this evening.
Any other discussion around policy?
Just have a question. I apologize. This is the first time I'm coming to these meetings. My comment would have been back in education. It's the first time I'm ever coming here. Can I have the end? Because I thought that's when the public can speak. It's a positive statement I have. It is not negative in any way. But either at the end of the meeting or living normal, if I can speak.
Sir, so yes, that is the process.
Did you sign up on here?
Yes.
What, I'm sorry, what's your name? Oh, Mr. Bauer, I'm sorry.
Yes, I was going to speak on.
So.
I know it's more of a committee meeting, so basically, well, I'm not going to speak on the budget, but I definitely, from coming here the first time, I've seen you have the principals and the administrators and board members. What I have to say, I want all you to say is good about a teacher, not negative. So whenever you feel at the end of the meeting or.
We can insert it now, so it's still kind of relatively closer to the education policy.
Okay.
So.
You want me to come up here so you can all hear, or as my wife says, my wife's parents?
Yeah, please come up because it will, the people viewing at home will be able to hear it better.
So, that's good. And some of you may know or may not know, like I said previous, I have two children. One's a junior, one's a senior. The senior is involved in softball, and actually the seniors recognize like a teacher that instilled them. So that's what this is. I'm just starting my phone because it said I had 20%. So that's what this is going to be about. We always hear negative, especially with everything going on lately, about teachers or stuff like that. So please bear with me. I took pictures of the softball that my daughter wrote what she wanted to say to the teacher that she gave today. So basically, it's Mrs. Schuster over at Peters Elementary. Anybody that knows my daughter, she's like an honor student, and she basically, ever since kindergarten, she was always shy. So it was a blessing, you know, how the school, Mrs. Schuster was to her. So basically, I'm going to read this. This is what it said on the softball. Mrs. Schuster, thank you for the incredible impact you have had on my life. Your kindness, patience, and the joy you brought to the classroom planted a seed in me all those years ago. I'm just reading it from the softball, bear with me. Because of you, I have chosen to become a teacher myself. It goes on to say, I am hoping to inspire my own students the way you inspired me. Thank you always being the kind-hearted teacher I will always remember, Grace, and that's my daughter. So all the negative you could hear about the school district, stuff like that, here's a positive thing. Even as talking about the homework, listen, what these kids are learning today, me and my wife sit there and it's like, oh my God. Previous, like this gentleman said here, and I think Mr. Pine, reach out to the teachers. The minute we were proactive parents, so we reached out to the teacher, got them their help. That was always beneficial. And even like this year, both my daughters were in the honors program. My junior, it's the first time, I don't want to say, not bragging, that she's struggling with honors trig. They might call it, we reached out to the teacher, I don't know his name, I apologize, but he reached out. Communication is like the key thing. So you can hear all the negative, but you have like the administrators and stuff like that. I just wanted to read what my daughter basically said to Mrs. Schuster, and it's positive, like, for the district. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer, and now that message will live on forever on the NLSD YouTube channel, and I hope Mrs. Schuster watches it often. Thank you for sharing that. I'm happy to hear again that Grace is going into education. I believe she's going into sales,
Yes.
and I wish her luck there.
Yes, and because of, she worked for it, but because of the education she did receive here, we're getting, because of her grades, she's getting $27,000 towards the sales. So everybody can say negative.
That's awesome.
Again, thank you for sharing. Okay, I believe we're transitioning to technology.
I will open the technology committee meeting and turn it over to Mr. Hill.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I wanted to discuss our E-rate funding for this year. E-rate's one of the programs that our technology department takes advantage of. E-rate is a federal program that assists schools and libraries with funding for technology. So earlier this school year, we applied for Category 1 funding. Category 1 funding is for our fiber optic connections for internet service. So we applied. We have 2 fiber optic connections in our school district. One is from Northern Lehigh School District to Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit. That's where our internet connection goes out of. And we applied for funding for that. Our connection for that costs $9,450 per year, pre-discount. We received notification that we will receive 80% discount, so we will receive $7,560 in a discount from E-rate for that connection. The second connection that we have is from Slatington Elementary School. We have a fiber optic connection from Slatington Elementary to Peters Elementary School to provide service to that building, and that cost us $13,248 for that connection per year. And we received notification that we will receive, again, an 80% discount, so we will receive $10,598.40 in funding for that connection. And again, that is for the E-rate 2025 year, which runs our school year July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. And that was we had a 5-year agreement for both of those connections, and those connections, the agreement will end on June 30th, 2026. So a reminder to the board that we will need to rebid those services in the E-rate portal this fall. So that's something I'll speak about you'll probably hear me talk about that again maybe in September. So we will bid those out again this fall for the next 5-year agreement. Okay, that is the only update I have from technology. Does anybody have any questions?
Turn it over to Mr. Fedora.
And I will open the building and grounds, and I will turn it over to Mr. Mann.
Good evening, everyone. First on my agenda is something long awaited.
Baseball is about 95%, say baseball and softball is about 95% complete. Next week, we'll do a punch list walkthrough with some individuals, some administrators, as well as Land Tech and ELA. A punch list is pretty much what it is, sounds like. We'll walk through, find certain items that we think should be fixed or not up to what we want completed. Even though once the fields are handed over to us and are not then our responsibility, we then have to water the fields, mow the fields. There's also electrical that needs to be run, as well as data. So at this point, the fields aren't going to be open for use. We feel that we'd like our teams to be the first ones on them, and we'd want them to be 100% complete when our athletes first step on them. So with that, is there any questions about softball or baseball?
When you say till next year, you mean next spring?
Next spring, absolutely.
So that, sorry, go ahead, Todd.
I've been quiet for a while, so. First of all, I think it's awesome that it's just about done. I've been watching the progress. I think it's a well-deserved upgrade. And I think I agree that the varsity team should have play the first game on there. Maybe there's a way to coordinate to make sure there's some off-season work done in between getting some of the electrical work done. Just because, as you know, when the season starts, you're in the second week of March, which you're lucky to be outside in maybe a week. So I think it might be beneficial to see if maybe we can get some of those guys some off-season work done in the summer, late summer, early fall, just to get used to their home field, if possible. Just strictly varsity only. No one else, only varsity players only. No games, just practice, just to get acclimated to their new digs.
I think that's something that we can talk about.
Okay.
I think administration can get together and talk, as well as maybe the coaching and that, to decide, if we want kids on the fields before next year, or if we want to wait. So
Okay.
I mean, that's absolutely something we can open discussions about.
Okay. So I actually invited Coach Kresge here, since our senior night got rained out. He would probably have more insight as far as to who, what, when, where, and why, if he wanted to speak about that, to give a little better detail.
Coach, we signed you up as you came in. Is there anything you would like to say tonight, Coach Kresge?
I wanted to speak on that. And first of all, thank you for all that you guys have done for the field. I mean, that is something that we'll be able to pass on to the kids for many years.
Can you take the mic, please? Sure. It really is hard for the people not to hear.
It's a good thing you got rained out, and you have a nice night.
Maybe.
First, I'm jealous I never got to play on our field. We played at Fry Fulton when I played here too, so I'm a little jealous the kids are going to get this new field. But I understand we don't want to use the field, anytime in the next week or two or anything like that. But I will say that when I took over the program, one of the things that I really looked into was an off-season program. These kids have dedicated tremendously to the off-season program. They play summer. We have probably, I'll say out of our 22 kids out this year, we probably have 15 or 16 of them playing summer baseball. The last 2 seasons we did a fall program where we played at the Big Show, practiced 2-3 days a week, and to not have a facility for literally a whole year now it's been brutal. Emerald Baseball Field has been gracious enough to change their schedules and do everything for us, but it's not the same. It's a skin-in field. It's actually dangerous. If you talk to any of the kids and watch these balls, they come flying at these kids and jump up. It's going to take somebody's, give them a black eye. But no, I got a line drive. But we need to get on the field. I mean, these kids want to work. I promise you, if I open it up to all the baseball players, we'll have 15 to 20 kids in the off season that are practicing, which is really what has turned the program around. So I hate to lose another year of off season workouts. to not have a facility. And I said to Chad earlier, I said, one of the things, if you come and watch our games, we've been playing extremely well. Our record doesn't show as good as the kids have been playing. But one of the things, if you watch our infield, we struggle this year. And I thought our defense was going to be our strength this year. But just watch what's happening. They do not attack a baseball anymore. They're scared to attack a baseball because they're attacking a baseball up on a field that it shouldn't really have 90-foot bases. It's not big enough. And the kids are already playing up. And when the ball's hit at them, I mean, it's coming at them on a skin infield with no grass. They're afraid to attack a baseball now, and they're sitting back on their heels, and they're making silly errors, that we do it for another year. It's going to be a bad habit that we're instilling into these kids. So, I mean, I hope we can work around it, and certainly, Chris, we would do anything we can to work around anything that you guys have to do, but I hope that, maybe midsummer and certainly the fall program, you can think about at least allowing us to play on the field. We don't need to do games or anything of that sort. We're going to play in the big show again this year out in Sinking Springs or whatever that is. I forget the name of the town out there. So the kids are going to travel. Our kids traveled out there every night for the last 2 years just to play baseball at a higher competition level, and they're going to do it again, but we really need a facility to practice at. Any questions?
Thanks for sharing your opinion.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Coach.
Any other questions? Good?
No, I just think, like you said, administration,
Yep.
maintenance, get together and decide what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, next on my agenda. So now's the time we have to put our amounts and get our bids for next year's our fuel use. So luckily this year, everything has dropped a couple cents. So our heating oil went from 3.4628 per gallon to 3.0703 a gallon. That's a small tank wagon. That's what supplies the field house. Our big amount, which is 60,000 gallons, that supplies each and every building. Went from 2.5880 per gallon to 2.1355 per gallon. That was the initial bid when it was distributed between schools. Once the bids come out, you then have to call the supplier and lock in your price. So we were fortunate enough that when I called them, the price dropped from 3.1355 to 2.1264. So we got another cent off. Next is our diesel, went from 3.0777 down to 2.6953 per gallon. And our gas, 87 octane, went from 2.8896 down to 2.4486. So in total, with the savings from last year to this year, I think we're going to save about $48,000 in gas, or fuel, I should say. So if I can get the okay from the members present to put it on Monday's agenda.
Sure. Quick before it goes away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knock it down.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. We're gonna need the trash.
Before you go to the next one, I'm sorry, just to clarify on the baseball, softball field, when you say they're, right now, today I know it might change, but right now, no field work until next year, or play until next year, does that include the fall programs that would have, like the soccer spare field and the football?
No, so
Those
soccer
are
and
okay.
We'll play it, yep.
So
Yep,
those
it
will be
would
played at just the
be-
main fields?
Right, just the
Okay.
sod and infield
Thank
of
you.
softball and baseball. Where we paid the additional money for the sod to be laid and the infield. Soccer, there's some areas that were touched when we redid baseball, but right now the grass is growing. Soccer should be fine, and football practice field should be okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for clarification. Sorry. I knew it would come back to me.
So the next thing on my agenda, June 30th, our trash and recycling contract is up. We did go out for bid back in May. We received only two bids for our trash and recycling removal. Both those bids administration felt were a little high. The end of this year, we paid $33,124 for our trash and recycling removal. Our lowest bid, the first round, was $45,500. The second bid that we received in May was $56,700. The administration felt that was a little high, so we put it out a second time in April. We felt having only two bids, and both of them being a substantial difference than what we paid this year, we didn't feel safe accepting those bids. So April, we went out again. This time, we actually had three garbage companies come back with bids. Again, our lowest bid, which was from Waste Management, came in at $45,564. $500. The next bid was Casella at $50,648, and Solid Waste Services, which was again at $56,700. So having 5 bids, and the first 2 didn't change from the May bids, we feel that these are the prices. This is the going prices for garbage. There's not much we can do. After not accepting our first round, we did have Waste Management and Solid State contact us, asking why, where I then told them that we felt it was quite high. From the ending this year to our next year of garbage, they said most companies is a 30% increase for garbage. So that's pretty much where we stand. The benefit is we are locked in for 5 years. So the next 5 years, it's written out as to what we pay.
And Waste Management is the only one that offers a multi-year.
No, all 3 of them were multi-years, being the Waste Management was the lowest for year 1 and consecutive all the way through year 5. Like I said, Casella was at $50,000 for your first year, and yeah. So that was part of our RFP, our request, was that it would be for 5 years. We wanted that locked in 5 years. We didn't want to go year by year.
Does that include recycling, or is recycling separate?
No, that's including recycling. So that's trash pickup and recycling.
Okay.
Yep. So then Waste Management will supply all our containers. They will start off 2 times a week for pickups and go from there. Mascaro or Solid Waste Services, they went the same way. They went for 2, and then if anything, they can back off during the off season, especially like at the stadium where there's no football. We don't bring them as often. So with the board members present, can I put that on Monday's agenda for approval?
Any objections?
No.
Put it on.
Thank you. And last, so last meeting, we had approval for 5 summer workers. This is the first time that I can remember, and from what I'm told from administrators ahead of me, this is the first time that we've had this many applicants for summer work. So what administration is asking the board is if we can get the approval for 3 more workers. We actually have the total of 8 students willing to come and work over the summer. We normally ask for the approval of 5. We have 4 returning students and 4 additional that would like to come to the school and work over the summer. So I get for the 3 additional workers, it's going to cost us about $8,000 for over the summer.
This will help Mr. Mann's department get ahead of a number of things this summer, one of which is going to be moving an awful lot of furniture at the high school when we hopefully begin the flooring project. So if we can have our student workers engage in that type of work, then our highly skilled maintenance workers can focus on other things that we actually want them to do. We also see this as an opportunity honestly, to employ some of our students to ensure that they are engaged in something positive over the summer. Folds into our college and career readiness work that we're doing here as well. And it's nice that we have 4 returning summer workers, which can then mentor the new summer workers, and hopefully this becomes a pattern where we'll have more experienced summer student workers that they can train up the next wave, or help us train up the next wave of summer workers. We're hoping that this becomes a pattern, and it's really just a good opportunity for some of our young people in the community to have a summer job. So administration is hopeful that the board would support 3 more summer workers.
I agree with that. I think it's wonderful that we can do that for our young people, because in some cases, we have some people who kids who are younger, a little bit younger, and don't have driver's licenses or don't have transportation. It gives us a chance to bring some of them into work in our own schools, and I appreciate that. Over all the years we have done it. So unless there's an objection from the board, I would recommend we do that.
I'm for it as long as painting's on the list.
Yes, painting's on the list.
All right.
Painting's
Painting
always
the high
on the
school,
list.
rest of the hallway, maybe some bathrooms, maybe some other, just a suggestion.
So we weren't just like, there wasn't an opportunity for other students to sign up other than what you had? That was my only concern, is like, would they have thought, well, there's already 4 coming back, like, so maybe they didn't apply? That was my only.
So it was posted at the high school. Mr. Williams can attest to that. It was posted at the high school for kids to apply for it. First, what happens is, in the past, we reached out to the students that are returning. So the guidance counselors at the high school reached out to those 5 kids that were here last year, offered it again this year. 4 out of the 5 accepted. And then in that time frame, we also received 4 other students that wanted to participate over the summer.
Okay, I just wasn't sure how the sign up or whatever would happen.
I mean, really, I'm hopeful that going forward we'll get more. You know, Dr. Link and I both agree that interviewing these students would give them a heads up on everyone else, or a foot up, I should say. You know, so we want to go through that whole scenario with these kids, you know, go through, you know, bringing them in and interviewing them and getting, you know, what they know and what we can teach them over the summer along with my staff. And I just think it's a great learning opportunity.
Okay, that's fine. I was just concerned about if there were other students that wanted the opportunity yet that didn't.
Hopefully
didn't get,
in coming
that's all.
years, we do get more. Yeah.
Okay.
Years ago, they had to draw names out of a hat to pick the people. They had that many people applying, but I'm going back, you know, 20, 25 years, so, but they used to have a heck of a lot of kids applying. That was a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Great opportunity.
Painting, right, Gail? Painting. Painting. No, part.
And that's all for me.
Any questions? Seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting and move on to you, Mrs. Cole.
And I will open the Finance Committee meeting by turning it over to Nikki for a cafeteria update.
I actually do not have one because most of it was about the Wellness Committee, so I guess Sherry's next, right? On the.
Mr. Bauer, did you want to comment on buildings and grounds? You had checked that committee.
If I can make the next board meeting, ask for a comment, it's just about the expenditure and the committees here with that comment.
Okay, we will have an opportunity once we go through the PowerPoint presentation for community members that indicated that they wanted to speak in the Finance Committee. We will open that up. Looks like there's maybe 4 or 5 of you. Open that up after the presentation for community members that indicated they want to speak during the Finance Committee. Okay, you ready, Mrs. Walters?
Sure am.
Okay. So this evening, we are going to give another presentation in our series of presentations on the 25-26 school year budget, as well as some long-term planning.
All right, so this is a slide that you have seen before. The Act 1 index for this year is 4%. Northern Lehigh's adjusted index is 5.5. However, at our last board meeting in April, the board did pass the proposed preliminary at 3.5%. Also, you can see the next couple of years where the Independent Financial Office has stated where they intend the Act 1 index to go. So in 26-27, they're looking at dropping from 4% this year down to a 3.6, the following year down to a 3.2, and in the last year, 28-29, that they currently projected out to, down to a 3.1. On the flip side of that, we have the PSERS rates. That is our retirement contributions for all of our staff members. 2025, it is at 34%. Next year, it is slated to go up to 34.72. Following year, 35.26. And in the 28-29 school year, go to 35.85. So these two are in contradictory of one another, whereas your Act 1 index is going down, which means the ability to raise taxes is getting less. But however, our expenditures will be going up according to our PSERS and what we'll be paying out to PSERS. Next slide, please.
Okay, and next, this is the district profile for student enrollment. This slide has been shared out a number of times this year so far, and the numbers are not predicted to change. Again, the variable here is the incoming kindergarten class, and we're still expecting anywhere from 115 to 125 children in next year's kindergarten class. Currently, we have 87 students fully enrolled, but we know that those enrollments will continue from now, honestly, oftentimes through late August, even early September. Parents are still enrolling their children into kindergarten. Here we have the employee profile. This slide has not changed as well. We're still predicting 267 total employees for next school year. I will point out that this does include the one recommended special education teacher at Slatington Elementary School. This is because we would like to open up an emotional support classroom at Slatington Elementary School and have some children that are in out-of-district placements for those type of services to return to us. Which would be a savings on the tuition that we're paying out, which then we could then use to fund this position here, as well as one para-educator at Peters Elementary School to provide intervention services for regular education children, and then one para-educator at Slatington Elementary School. This would be for a child that is moving into our district, who is already receiving services. In their IEP, they have a one-to-one paraeducator for the supports that the child needs. We are obligated to match those supports under federal law when the child begins attending our schools here. So we would have to hire a one-to-one paraeducator to work with this child. However, we're already paying for a one-to-one paraeducator and tuition for the program that the child is already receiving. So we would just redirect those funds to hire somebody directly here, and it would likely be less than what we're paying for the out-of-district placement.
This is our current fund balance slide. We ended the 2023-2024 school year with a little over $18 million in our fund balance.
Okay, so our recommended actions at each school building. For Peters Elementary School, we're recommending that we take one of our current second grade teachers and reassign them to a third grade classroom at Slatington Elementary School, keeping in mind that this is the class, the current second grade class, is kind of that, what we informally call a bubble class, because it's much larger than the other classes around it. So when that large group travels up to Slatington Elementary School, we would like to have one of those teachers also go up to Slatington Elementary School to address class sizes. We're also recommending that we add a paraeducator position funded through the general fund. This is the position I just mentioned on the staffing profile. And we would prioritize first grade students' needs and assign paraeducators to support reading and math intervention needs of students at risk in these subject areas. At Slatington Elementary School, we're recommending, again, this is where, on the staffing profile slide, this is where we're recommending that we have one special education teacher funded through reintegration of outplaced students, so redirecting the funds that we're spending on out-of-district students to come back here and open our own classroom. We know that returning 2 to 3 students would fully fund that one teacher position. Additionally, we will avoid the cost of having to outplace 2 rising third graders. So we have 2 second graders right now that if this classroom at Slatington Elementary School does not open for next year, it's likely that those children are going to have to be placed out of district to meet the level of needs that they require, level of support that they require. This position will be for a new, again, socially emotional support classroom at Slatington Elementary School. I'm sorry, a new emotional support classroom at Slatington Elementary School. We're also recommending that we add one paraeducator position funded through savings of the reintegrated outplaced student who I mentioned in the previous slide. At Northern Lehigh Middle School, we're recommending that we know that at the end of this year, we're going to have a retirement at the high school of a business technology education instructor, and we're recommending that we repurpose that position, keep the position in the budget, but we actually have it become a secondary music position to be shared between the middle school and the high school. I'm happy to share that our participation rates in band continue to increase, especially coming out of Slatington Elementary School into the middle school. We would also like to be able to start offering vocal music courses at the secondary level, something that we have not been able to integrate into the curriculum when we went down a music teacher a number of years ago. We are also considering building a 6th grade wing on the middle school and relocating 6th grade to the middle school. That is part of what you all now have come to, part of that transition to a common campus model. At the high school, we're recommending again to repurpose that, what will soon be a vacant business and technology education position, and repurposing that position to become part of a expansion in our secondary music program, again targeting music instruction that has a specialty in the vocal part of music instruction. And then we recently added a music teacher that is excellent in what she's doing on the instrumental side, and then we would have a full complement and can offer a full complement of courses at the secondary levels, middle school and high school.
All right, so 2025-2026, our budget increases in our expenditure side of things. We saw an increase in transportation. There is the bond payment if the board does choose to go through with the middle school configuration and the common campus. We do have that one ES position that Dr. Link just talked about, along with those 2 paraprofessionals also included in the budget. We have seen cyber charter school increases, increases also to outplacements. And PCER's retirement rate this year was 33.9, went up to 34 for the coming 25-26 school year. And we are currently right now in the middle of our healthcare open enrollment period. So right now, I have built in that everybody stays status quo where they currently are, which we did see an increase in our costs going out, but that could even change more, or it could go down depending upon what happens through our open enrollment period right now. So the proposed bond budget impact. So Northern Lehigh School District currently has outstanding principal bonds in the amount of $18,785,000. These bonds we pay over $2 million a year. and those bonds are slated to be paid through the end of the 2036-2037 school year. The proposed principal bond with the additional $50 million would be the bond needed for the middle school configuration in the common campus. It would add $500,000 for increase in the bond payments beginning with the 25-26 school year. And then each of the next 4 years, we would increase the bond payments by $500,000 a year, getting us to the $4.5 million that we need to pay our bonds. So after the 5th year, the 3.5% would be needed every one of the next 5 years in order to get us up to the 4.5 million built in. So we're incrementally building the capacity in our budget to absorb the additional $2.5 million needed for an annual beginning bond payment in the 2030-2031 school year would be a total of $4.5 million, and it would stay flat funded at that through 2030 to the 2055 school year. So currently our projected 25-26 budget revenue streams, again, Northern Lehigh's collection rate is 94.75%. 3.5% proposed tax increase, which was approved as a preliminary at the last board meeting, will give us $669,000 in additional tax revenue. The federal revenues were budgeted at the 24-25 amounts currently. I believe Dr. Stoker, towards the end of this month, is hoping to have our new federal revenue numbers. If they do increase, we will add the additional revenues into our budget. State revenues were budgeted at a slight increase over what we received during the 24-25 school year and what we're suspected to get 25-26. Understand that this is a moving target though, because although school districts must pass their budget by June 30th, the state does not have to. They should, but oftentimes they don't. So by the time we budget and pass our budget, we don't have a clue whether we're getting all the money from the state we're supposed to be or they're slated to give us. So this year we're slated to get roughly $276,000 in additional basic ed subsidy payments. I budgeted a little over $150,000 in our budget. I have about $100,000 or better sitting out there yet. If they go above the $150,000, I will add that revenue back in. Understand that if they go below what I put in the budget, I've already put more money in our budget than what the state's given us. Same thing for special ed. Special ed is $81,000 in additional revenue this year. I budgeted 50% of that. I put $40,000 in the budget. Same thing can happen if the state does not come in where I'm predicting that they're probably going to come in at. And then our Ready to Learn block grant, that is still flat funded again this year. That is been like that for many, many years, and it continues to be flat funded. The only additional revenue we received from the state in the Ready to Learn block grant now moving forward was last year they put in a tax equity adjustment for school districts that meet certain poverty levels. We do qualify for that, and that money has to be used for debt service payments or ways of reducing debt.
Okay, again, I am not going to read through each one of these line items here, but these are some of the long-term planning projects that we want to do at the different buildings over the next several years. I'll focus on the ones for the upcoming school year. New furniture replacement at the middle school at the cost of about $55,000. As well as furniture replacement at Slatington Elementary School at the cost of approximately $45,000. A PA system for the baseball and softball complex, which would come out of the maintenance and athletic budget at $10,000. That was some of the additional wiring that Mr. Mann was talking about previously. A maintenance pickup truck with a plow for the upcoming school year at, we're looking at $55,000. Again, that would come out of fund balance. Some of the vehicles that we currently have in the maintenance department are rapidly ending near of near safe use. And then the Northern Lehigh High School flooring replacement project. This would be done in conjunction with a grant that we have successfully received. We would be obligated to pay $270,000, and then 75% of the total cost would come through the grant. This would be just to do the flooring at the high school that currently is known to have asbestos in it in the mastic under the tile. So we would like to remove all of that and then put in new flooring in there. Administration is also recommending that we keep this project at the forefront for the next 2 to 3 summers. Do it now while we have grant money opportunity to do pretty much the entire top floor of the high school, and then move down to the ground level floor, and then move down to the basement level floor. So we have uniform flooring throughout the entire high school. This would be about a 2 to 3 summer project, but this summer we can only do the part that would be funded through the grant. And a new water softener and filtration system at this building as well. For the 25-26 school year, we received an estimate on this at $20,000. And then over the next several years, we continue with furniture replacement at the other buildings, some security camera upgrades that we're going to need to do in about the 27-28 school year, network switches which control our internet. 27-28, our server center, again, for our internet and network system. In the 28-29 school year, more furniture replacement. And then out in the 28-29 school year, we have to start resealing our parking lots at the high school, middle school. And then we also know that in about 2 to 3 years, we're going to need to replace a turf at the stadium. Also, we're recommending a stadium scoreboard upgrade, seal coating out at Peters and the stadium complex in 29-30. We have to keep our eye on the chillers at the high school. They could need to be replaced in the 29-30 school year, but we continue to have those assessed annually. Stadium track resurfacing, 29-30 school year, although we recently, last week, met with Field Turf, the company that installed our turf and track at the stadium. They actually recommend, if we're going to do both of them in this kind of near future, they recommend doing them at the same time. As far as what they actually have to do in the complex, they said it's easier if you just kind of do it all at once. That is something that we would continue to explore. Stadium press box upgrades, a large utility shed and pole shed for the maintenance department out in 2031-32, and then stadium lighting upgrades as well. Right now we're projecting the 32-33 school year. Summer programs. So as many of you are aware, we offer summer programs to the students in the school district. I'm very happy to share again that our Northern Lehigh Educational Foundation has committed to paying the full cost of the STEAM camp, which is going to be about $30,000. They said that through a generous donor to them, Neff's National Bank made a donation. Neff's National Bank and Embassy Bank both made donations to our Educational Foundation. The Educational Foundation has committed to using that funding to run our STEAM camp again this year, I believe now for the 5th or 6th year in a row. And then another consideration, something that we're going to need direction from the school board, hopefully no later than Monday night's board meeting a week from tonight, is about our Open Horizons summer camp. This is a camp that was previously funded through ESSER funds. Those funds have been depleted. So we need to make a decision as to whether we want to continue this program, fund it through the general fund or not. If we continue it and fund it through the general fund, it costs $48,696.
So currently, by the end of the June 30th, 2025, I'm thinking we are probably going to estimate putting about $725,000 into our fund balance at the end of the year, making us just around 18 million, almost $800,000 in our fund balance. This is projections showing the yellow area of all of those one-time purchases that Dr. Link talked about, along with a few years ago, we strategically took some of our money that we were receiving back into fund balance, and we put debt service payments in there for future debt service payments, and we earmarked $200,000 a year to go towards our debt service payments. So $200,000 will be coming out of the fund balance this year in order to pay part of our $2 million bond payment. And then also the PCERS increase and the healthcare increase, that's $1,082,000 that will be used out of our fund balance this upcoming school year for one-time purchases and those items that were marked in our fund balance to be used for future payments. So where do we currently stand? Our expenditures total $42,993,231. That is no different than what the proposed preliminary budget was that was approved in April. Again, as the medical open enrollment period changes and I get those changes in, it will adjust that number. It will also, if the board makes a decision on what is going to happen with the summer program, currently the summer program is in our budget, so that can be adjusted one way or the other, whatever we decide to do with that. Our current local revenues are $42,132,939. That does include the 3.5% increase in the local taxes, which is an additional $669,000 in tax revenue. So we are still at a budget shortfall currently of $860,000. But also in this, again, is the $500,000 for bond payments. So if the board chooses not to go through with the common campus and the middle school configuration changes, we would take $500,000 out of our expenditures, which would mean our budget shortfall would only be about $360,000. So again, the tentative big picture, we have the expenditures of $42,993,231. Our revenues currently with that 3.5% tax increase built in is the $41,050,939. $1,082,000 will be taking out of our fund balance for our one-time purchases. We're still at a budget shortfall of $862,292. Again, if we use that $1,082,000 out of our fund balance for those one-time purchases, debt payments, PCERS, and healthcare increases, our ending fund balance would be somewhere around $17,686,000 at the end of the 25-26 school year. And if the board so chooses not to do anything more with taxes and says they want to take the remaining $860,000 out of fund balance as well, our fund balance ending at the end of the 25-26 school year would be just shy of $17 million. It would be somewhere around $16,826,000. So for informational purposes, we just kind of wanted to show where we have been with our tax increases over the last few years, where the preliminary has been passed and where the final ended up coming in at. So you can see 2021, the preliminary was approved at a 3.5 and we ended up on a 2. 21-22 was a 4, we ended at a 2. 22-23 was a 4.6, we ended at a 2.5. 23-24 was 5.5 was the preliminary. We settled at a 3.5. Last year we started at a 5.12 and we ended at a 2. Currently right now the 25-26 budget is at a 3.5 with the preliminary, and upon the final approval in June will tell us where we're going to sit with our increase in our fund balance and our increase in our taxes. So the 3.5, what's the impact on the 3.5% percentage tax increase on Lehigh County residents? So
We get a report from Lehigh County with the median assessed home values in our district. Median assessed home values in Lehigh County is $151,850. So at a 3.5% increase, that person's tax bill will go up $134 for the entire year. You can see what that breaks down then for a monthly charge, weekly charge, and then a daily charge. Northampton County, $46,200 is their median assessed value for their homes in their counties. $123 would be their yearly tax increase. And then again, you can see the month and the week and the day there as well. Value of a mill in Northern Lehigh School District is $670,000. So we are not even at the current 3.5% rate. We're not even at a mill for our school district. We're just shy of a mill. Let me put it that way. It's $669,670 is a mill. Remember that we do have 2 counties between our Walnutport, which is Northampton County, and then Washington Township and Slatington, which is Lehigh County. So we do have to equalize and the mills between the 2 counties, and we do that using the STEB market ratio values. The only problems with the STEB market ratio values is they lag about 2 years behind. I'm working right now with the 2023 data, and we're working on a 25-26 budget year. So that's how far behind STEBS is to what is currently in the marketplace. Next slide, please. So homestead, farmstead. We received on last Friday our homestead, farmstead information for this coming school year. Currently, the homestead farmstead went up by $218,000, so we will be getting $218,000 more in homestead farmstead applications this year. Last year, people who applied and qualified for homestead farmstead, they received on the tax break on their tax bills of $427.82. This year, that dollar amount is going up to $500.62. So the additional relief on everybody's tax bill will be $72.80 more on their tax bills. So for looking back again at that median assessed home value in Northampton County, that went up $123. It won't go up $123 because they're going to see $72.80 being paid for the state by them. So their tax bill's only going to go up the difference between the $123 and the $72.80. So roughly $60. The $133 for Lehigh County, or $34 I think it was for Lehigh County, same exact thing. Their bill's going to go up just under $70 for the year.
Okay.
Again, again, that's median assessed value. So if your home is a little bit higher than the median assessed value, it's going to be a little bit higher for you.
So administrative recommendations, we are recommending utilization for fund balance for one-time purchases, debt service payment, and PSERS and healthcare increases. Recommending to pass a 3.5% tax increase in conjunction with utilization of the fund balance to close the gap, in addition to generating some revenue for upcoming years for possible construction or renovation projects. Addition of a special education teacher at Slatington Elementary School to open an emotional support classroom and reintegrate outplaced students. Continue to look for grant revenue opportunities for funding positions such as school police officer and our social worker, and for facility improvements like we recently received for the high school flooring project. Continue to search for expenditure savings, such as reintegrating more outplaced students that are ready to return to their home schools. Planning to extend Northern Lehigh High School flooring project so all floors are replaced over the next 3 years. And then ultimately to discontinue to Open Horizons summer camp and instead fund 2 additional paraeducators, 1 each for Peters Elementary School and Slatington Elementary School. That would be in addition to the 2 that are already previously addressed earlier in the presentation. We feel that we would get greater return on our investment to have 2 paraeducators in our buildings, our elementary buildings, for 180 school days, as opposed to just a handful of days in the summer, about 2 weeks worth of days in the summer. So at this time, we'll open it up to questions and comments from the school board members, and then we'll open it up for public comment related to the budget.
question.
Sure.
Have we never received the money from the governor's budget? Can you ever recall, like, any year that we never got the money, right? I mean, I don't know, in the 10, 20 years, have we never received the money?
Correct. We've never not received the money, but there was a time, probably about 5 years ago, where the governor did not pass his budget until January, and there were many school districts who had to go out and borrow money because they couldn't make payroll because they didn't have a fund balance. That is one of the reasons for our fund balances. In that situation, we didn't have to go out for money. We actually had the fund balance in order to access that money and pay our salaries and our benefits and stuff for our employees, and anything, gas, transportation, all of that. We had the money to do that.
And that was because of probably the COVID years?
No, it was before COVID.
Oh, before COVID, okay.
It was before COVID.
Okay.
It might have been maybe about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question, on the preliminary budget that you gave us last month, you had a budget shortfall of $1,529,302. How did it go down to 800?
Because I have a 3% revenue bill. The difference between this and this is the $669,000, which is the 3.5% revenue. That's now, I have the tax revenue built in there. That was the preliminary that was approved.
Okay, I got you, sorry about
Yep,
that.
that's okay.
Double check.
No problem.
See how it went down so much.
Yep,
Okay.
that's
All
why.
right.
It's because that 3.5% tax increase.
Okay.
Yep. And again, when you change that, or if you change that on the final budget approval, that will send it one or, the other way. Like if you send at a 3%, then that 860 is gonna go up because we're not gonna get as much tax revenue in.
I gotcha.
Correct. Yep.
Mr. Link, I have a question. Do you know how many retirements we were going to have this time?
So currently we're
Aware of the high school business technology position. And we believe that's it.
And administrator.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness. And Mr. Geis is also retiring, so, as he waves. Mr. Geis is also retiring, so one instructor and one administrator.
Pretty low for us for quite a while. Okay, I hadn't heard anything, that's why I was curious.
Now, we could open up our mail tomorrow or in May, or later in May, and they can submit a retirement letter at any time.
Some guys you miss and some you don't, it's like,
We will certainly miss Mr. Geis.
May we ask how many retirees are in our district right now? Is that a question are allowed to know? I don't need to know names, but like, do we have 100? Do we have 80? Like,
what do you mean by that?
Like how many people do we have that are retired that are on our retirement plan? Like, that are retired, that are collecting a pension or a piece of.
They can't be working for us if they're collecting piecers.
Okay, well, I'm just.
Yeah, no, they can't be.
Okay.
And because if they come back to work for us, they then lose their retirement. So the retirement freezes.
Okay.
So once they're getting retirement, they have to stay on retirement, or if they elect to come back. So nobody is on our retirement that is coming back, except, I'm gonna say except for like our coaches. Because coaches and them can come back, and they can come back and work as long as it's not a full-time position. And then we can also have subs come back and help retire, that have retired, as long as we get permission from the state that we can't find subs and we're having a hard time filling positions. They give us a letter every year that says, okay, you have to use a round robin, you must exhaust everybody else first, and once nobody can, then you're welcome to call in a retiree.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
I apologize because I know I asked this before. How many students are involved in the Open Horizon program?
I'll look to Mr. Pine, but I think at one point it was about 70.
On average, it was 70, yeah. The first year was 90 some, and then it dropped the second year pretty dramatically, and then after that, the numbers average out to about 70.
And then the other question I have is the special ed position that you want to add. Would there be a possibility that we would get tuition students in that class? Depending on the program that you're offering, I know in the past.
She's meeting from another school district.
We don't have that class. That classroom would not be in fair share.
It would not, okay.
So for the audience, fair share is an arrangement that we have, like with the other districts in the intermediate unit. This classroom would not be considered a fair share classroom. It would be just for Northern Lehigh School District students. Thank you, Mrs. Dada.
Sherry, on your revenue slide, was the added possible revenue of the basic ed, special ed, and ready to learn roughly $380,000? Is that included in that final revenue number, or is that to be added if we get it?
No, so I've already added 140 for basic ed, and I've added $40,000 for special ed. There's still 100 and some sitting out there and 40 sitting out there if the governor comes in and gives us everything that he suspects we're gonna get. Then I would be able to add that back in. So half of it is added, half of it is not.
So if I take those numbers, you're estimating from this slide here.
Yep.
That of the 42 million in revenue, there's
Correct.
a possibility to still add an additional 380,000.
140 and 40.
140 and 40.
Right.
Because it was
180.
partial of those numbers.
Correct.
Sorry, now I understand.
You got
Thank
it.
you. If we chose one way or another, so we say no to the common campus or we say yes to the common campus. So let's start with the no to the common campus. There's a bond that's listed there.
Correct.
There's items that were on our proposed yearly upcoming items. Would we need at some point to get a bond to pay for some of those infrastructure changes down the road? So I'm making an assumption, no to the common campus as just a clean, dry slate. Would we still at some point need a bond?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, yes, because all of this stuff that, even if you go back to the feasibility study and everything that they were recommending that we needed to do just to give our buildings back up to code was almost $50 million. It was 44 something, Dr. Link, somewhere in there, was it?
Yes.
So there's only $18 million in fund balance. So if you get to the point where you're gonna wanna do everything, you're not gonna do everything in the next year. You're not gonna do everything in the next 3 years.
Right.
But eventually down the line, we may need to go out for a 2, a 4, a 5, and $8 million because we've hit some of the big ticket items that are gonna need to happen all in 1 year.
Understood, thank you.
And an important part of that is to make sure that we have something in fund balance,
Right.
you know, just in case there is another scenario. I believe it was Mrs. Williams that asked the question of what happens if the state doesn't pass their budget until January or February. You know, we can continue to operate, to pay our people, to pay our you know, ongoing monthly bills. So we also want to keep in mind that we want to have a fund balance for those type of scenarios as well.
I think if I remember the slide, if we do all the things that are designated, there's only like 2 million left.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot of slack in there to go do a whole lot of things. That's all that's left, 2 million. Maybe it's 2.5, I don't remember, but it's 2-point-something million.
And that's not everything that's on that feasibility study, because we
I-
don't have
I-
everything
no,
from
it's-
there
yeah,
on
it's-
that list.
It's 35,000 short, yeah.
So, and again, for full transparency, if we were to do a common campus, we know that that would take about 8 years or so. Those capital improvements that were listed on all those line items, that's a long game, right? That we're not going to try to do all of those in 8 years. That would have to be spread out over, you know, a much greater length of time. So, again, just know that if we were to do just capital improvements, we would have to spread that out more than 8 years.
Sherry, what did you indicate would be the end, how long for the bond payment that we would have to take out? Did you say 20 years or something?
It's 25 years, it would be 2055.
That concerns me, being that far out. That's, I get it, but it just concerns me that there's going to be other things coming up as we go along, to have it be that far out. That's what.
How long was our current bond for?
15 years.
And how long was the bond for the Slatington Elementary renovations?
I think they were around 15 years as well.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
And then we refinanced some of them.
And then we
during
refinanced
COVID.
them, okay.
Correct.
I personally am more comfortable with a 15-year, but that's my personal perspective.
When do you anticipate the open enrollment to close for insurance, to have those, a better idea of those numbers? That's a big.
It is a big.
You're talking $3 million in
Yep.
benefits, so.
You are
that's a big
correct.
chunk.
May 23rd, that closes, so I will
So we'll
have
know
those,
before
I
our
will
June
have that
board.
information for the June board agenda. The budget
Yeah.
will be updated with all those increases.
Based on what you had shown, salaries and benefits, 64%, give or take.
Correct.
Just in our $43 million in expenses.
Correct.
27 million is salaries and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
We only have 16 million in fund balance. We can't touch all that if the state does something.
Right.
That only gives us 6 months of buffer to be able to have security for our staff, to make sure we can continue making payments before we have to take a loan that has the potential to be a higher value in interest. So I'm just saying out loud what's going through my head of financially looking at that, to say, one way or another, we still have to think, even if nothing occurs, we still have to think of the things that don't go away, which are salary and benefits.
Correct.
I also think, Gail, if you took out a loan, that would be at a lot higher rate than if
Than the
you
bond.
took out a
That-
tax-free
that's-
bond.
that was
It would
my-
be
that's where I was going
probably
through my mind.
Double the interest rate, I would think. I
Currently,
don't
what
know.
interest is 9, 10, 12%, depending on what you're taking a bond out, or a loan out for.
And some of the districts are still paying on those loans that they took out before. I mean, it's still impacting on their budgets.
Ms. Green, would you like to begin public comment?
Okay, sure. Anybody else? Well, this is Gail's committee, but anybody else on the board? Any questions before we go public?
I
Okay,
do have
then.
a question.
Please.
So when, are we going to be talking about the common campus next week at the school board meeting, like deciding on what we're doing? Like, are we, like, we really haven't as a board said really what direction.
Sure.
You know, so I don't know if it was tonight or are we doing it Monday, so we,
So, a week from tonight, we will need to receive direction from the school board on the budget, and part of the budget is the common campus, okay? So that possibility. So there will be no action taken tonight. I would even caution the board not to try to, we can't have 5 or 6, 7 people say tonight where it almost looks like a vote, because it was not advertised as a voting session this evening. Monday night's board meeting, the monthly board meeting will be advertised as a voting session. One of those agenda items, or one of those topics, will be the budget. Administration will ask for direction on what the board wants to keep in the proposed budget or remove from the proposed budget. Part of those considerations are common campus or ongoing capital improvements. Sorry, that was a very long explanation.
No,
Did
that's
it
okay.
answer
No,
your question?
no, I just, plus I know the public wants to know
Sure.
too. They didn't know what we were doing tonight exactly. I didn't know either. but-
So this evening is more just about sharing information so the board can make an informed decision. Monday evening, and an opportunity, the public has an opportunity to also comment again this evening, as they will Monday evening.
Can I ask a question? So the listing that we have from the feasibility study, it has the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, et cetera. am I to understand that we still would have to do some of these things even if we don't go to the common campus? That is correct, right? So that would be, is any of this included in the common campus?
Well, some of it would be, so all the stuff listed for Peters Elementary School would go away, right? And when we get to that year. But there are things like in this building where we know we're gonna have to address, like things like HVAC controls, you know, we're gonna need to do roofing again if we put an addition on, that type of stuff. As well at Slatington Elementary School, we know that we're also gonna need to continue. Slatington Elementary School is actually in very good shape because it was the most recently renovated. But there are some things on there that we would also want to address to kind of fold into what would be 3 additions there, actually. At the high school, well, the high school is not really being affected by whether we reconfigure this building or Slatington Elementary School, but there are things that we know that we want to do at the high school, which again are things like HVAC controls, the controls for our fire suppression systems, fire alarm systems, clock systems, things like that.
So would it be worthwhile to have a list similar to what you have for the long-term expenses of what we would be looking to spend going forward, irregardless of the common campus, as far as for long-term expenditures?
So we could do that, but administration's actually going to need direction from the school board as to which building they would like to address first. So for instance, let's say the school board says no to the common campus or not yet to the common campus. Well, then what I would propose then is we probably want to start taking a look, I would say, at the high school, because if at some point they want to revisit the idea of a common campus, the high school is not involved with those grade span reconfigurations, so we can move forward with the work at the high school, knowing that if at some point the school board says, hey, listen, we want to see what the economy is going to look like next year or in 2 years, or what's going on at the federal level with tariffs and stuff like that, and we want to revisit the idea of a common campus, well, we know that the high school is not affected by those configurations. So I would imagine that administration, and we need time to think through this, but we would probably say to the school board, look to the high school, but give us direction what you want to actually do at the high school.
I just wasn't sure if there was any of the red items that are more of a priority, that is something that we should be considering sooner than later. That's why I bring it up.
Yeah, and those would be the red ones. And
Right,
if the school board were to, so what I would say is if the school board were to say no to the common campus or not yet, then that would be, let's start prioritizing the red and orange and yellow at the high school.
Oh, just the high school. That's,
Well,
so you understand what I'm saying?
I do, but keeping in mind that if it's a no, never to the common campus, well, then we would look at all 4 buildings.
Okay.
Okay, but if it's a no, not yet, then I would recommend look at the high school.
Okay, thank you. That was just my,
Yeah, it's a good question.
But aren't some of those red items things we have to do soon? I mean, we can't just wait 5 or 8 years to do some of those.
Well, we would need to know if the no, not yet is, hey, we're going to reconsider it in a year or 2, we should be okay. If it's going to be, we never are going to reconsider it, or not,
anytime soon.
not when we are still in the audience, or sitting up here, you know, well then, we wouldn't have to move as rapidly for those.
I just want to make sure we don't miss something that we need to have done. That's
Well, and-
why I bring it up.
Yep, and some of the things that showed up on those couple slides up there are more of it's either equipment or like this building we have to look at the water filtration at this building. And I recommend that we do that. So for example, if we were not to go to the common campus and the school board's direction was we are not going to consider it at all, or we're just going to kind of table it for now until we see what the economy looks like in a year or 2, I would probably then move up on that list a water treatment and filtration system at Slatington Elementary School and at the high school, because it's all coming from borough water, right? So we might as well just look at those 2 other buildings much more quickly. They are not big, comparatively speaking, we're not talking about $1 million or $100,000. Still, $20,000 is still a lot of money, but those are some of the things that we can move up into priority.
Thank you.
Sure.
Public?
I'm ready when you are.
Real quick, one more.
Mr. Chrisman?
Going back to the whole homestead, farmstead thing. I know people who are eligible that have not applied, they are sent letters, correct?
Correct. They're sent letters every year. Correct.
Do we know roughly how many that are eligible that have yet to take advantage of that? Do we have that?
I knew you were going to ask this eventually. I got as far as Slatington.
Okay.
So I'm working on Slatington okay, so what you have to remember is people can have multiple properties. As long as they have the one property and then they have like a garage on a separate deeded property right next to it, the garage is not eligible for homestead farmstead because it's not a property that they live in. The house is. So we have a lot of people who have that situation.
Okay.
We also have a lot of people who own multiple properties that are either renting them out or whatever, so of course those properties aren't available as well. So in essence.
Strictly just for their primary residence?
Primary residence only, correct. So I can tell you that Slatington has, because I did get Slatington done, Slatington has a total of 1,317 residential properties. Of those residential properties, 789 residents have filed and have been approved for homestead farmstead. 250 homestead farmstead properties were eligible, but they did not apply. And then I have 274 properties that are not eligible because they don't meet the criteria. So in essence, 80.7% of people are in homestead or do not qualify, and we have 19.3% of people in Slatington that could apply and probably be approved.
Okay. That's actually a decent amount. It's a decent amount of people. Okay.
And that won't affect our money that won't affect the money the district gets? That goes direct to?
No, until they apply. Once they apply, then they would get the money as well.
But
we don't get less money because they don't apply, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, so like if
No.
we'd have 25 or 50 people apply, would that hurt us at all? It wouldn't.
It would if they all get on it, because then we have more people that we have to spread that money out amongst.
That's what I wanted to
Correct.
bring up, because I think what you were trying to say is there are more people that could qualify, but that's also going to mean it's less money
than
that everybody else gets.
Correct.
So if we add more people, the numbers change.
Correct.
Thank you.
You got it.
Is that what you were trying to
Yeah.
figure
I was
out?
just gonna ask for the qualifications.
So they have to own the residence, live in the residence. That's the qualification for it.
Sure,
Yeah.
because that goes back a number of years. Let's just suppose somebody does not remember if they are qualified. They may be one of the, how do they find out if they're qualified?
They can actually, if you go on the Lehigh County Assessment webpage, you can put in your address and you can look it up, and then about halfway down the page, it'll say you are enrolled in homestead farmstead as of, I will tell you, I think it started in 2006. So it'll say you've been in the program since 2006, or you've been mailing a form. If you think you qualify, please send the form back in for qualifications.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. I believe we have about 5 people that indicated they would like to speak tonight. I will start first with Mr. Horn. Mr. Horn, would you like to speak this evening?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all who put information out. A lot of it I didn't know and do know now. Appreciate it. I'd like to talk on some things about the Common Campus stuff and some of the budget, some of the numbers I wrote down real quick on our last week's. Some of them are probably not right, but as I was viewing the slides of last week's meeting, I quickly jotted these numbers down. about the add-ons for the high school, 14 to 16 million, the middle school, 7 to 14, field house, 5 to 6 million. And I thought we put money in the field house a couple years back. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't know what was all done there, but what could it need? Jokingly, with all of this financial, do we need to get a hold of DOG in on this to get a little help? Anyway, a side question, did we ever find out how many teachers from Northern Lehigh filled out that questionnaire? Did you ever? I'm just curious on that one.
That presentation is up on the district website, and that number is in one of the slides.
Okay.
I seem to recall about 170.
Thank you. Okay, estimates. Like, I'm on this common campus thing. I did auto body repair at L-Tri-C. Part of our schooling was give estimates, learn how to write out an estimate at a body shop. And back in them days, you were like within $50. Nowadays, you got to be within $1 million. I mean, to me, that's crazy. It really is. And my question is, how many other estimates from referable or preferable, whatever term you want to use, companies did you get? Is it just this one place that we're dealing with, or what? And another thing I did some homework on, with a school district, if you build a new building, you get more money from the government than if you do add-on. That's what I was learning on that, doing a little bit of research. Once again, we all know that the Biden administration ruined our economy, and even though Democrats don't want to admit it, we know it. And the price of everything went through the roof, and now we get these estimates from companies that'll take millions of our taxpayer dollars. And with their high estimates, because they have to be high, okay, because everything else is high. But what happens when, in a year or two, when things start coming down, they're still building and adding on here, they're going to start making quite a bit of money with our money, if you look at it like that. So my opinion, and I'm sure others would agree, is why don't we wait on this common campus thing? Let's take care of what you were just talking about, Mr. Link, about, upgrading the high school, and start picking on the schools and get them ready. Worry about this common campus at a later date. And finally, I sure do hope you looked at the last paper on that petition where they projected where numbers would come with taxes. I mean, I get it. Every year these buildings need to be upgraded. Football field, it goes without saying. But my thing is, if we're going to start doing that, okay, even at now for this year at 3.5% projected increase, what's it going to go to if we would go through with this common campus? Would it just stay at 3.5%, or is it going to go up, 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 up every year? That's my concern. And I know you can't answer it. It's an open question. So once again, I'm pleading, and I talked to a lot of people since last Monday, and why don't you bring this up, why don't you bring that up? Everybody's on the same thing. It's either flat out no to the common campus, or let's wait till things start settling down with our economy, with the United States and the whole world. That's my plea to you people. And thank you for what I learned here tonight. I appreciate it all. You guys do a heck of a lot of work. Thank you.
Sharon, do you want to address that 3.5 for the 5 years? Remember you said about 3.5 for 5 years, like we discussed?
I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
I didn't know. Sharon, you know what I'm talking about.
If she said she didn't know if she wanted me to discuss again that the 3.5% is only for 5 years for the bond.
So we can just, Mr. Horn, I encourage, this presentation will be up on the website. In there, it addresses your question about how long would it be 3.5% for. So that's in there, and what we predict, what it is, it would be through the 2030 school year. That it would go up 3.5%, and then it would level out.
So that would be like every year for the next couple of years.
For the next 5 years. Yeah. But we'll get this presentation up on the website like we did last week's.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear what you were saying. I'm sorry. Okay, next we have Crystal Bilby would also like to speak on the Common Campus. If we can answer them, we'll try to, understanding that each speaker is getting 5 minutes.
I actually have a few. The median home prices in the area, when was that assessment from that you got? The median home prices in the area, the assessment?
It's the median assessed value. So your assessed value is different than your market value. So your assessed value is based off of STEB's market values as well. Again, that's running about 2 years behind schedule.
2 years.
Yep.
Okay. And I actually have a question about the emotional support room. Does that child have the option to stay off campus?
I can't talk about individual children.
As a generalization?
Yes. So what I will tell you is that there's a process and how those decisions are made, and it's via an IEP team decision, which is required to have members of educators within the district, teacher, special education teacher, regular education teacher, an administrator, and of course the child's parents. So that's how those decisions are made. Whenever the IEP team says a child should be educated in this program or that program, once that decision is made and the parent signs off on it, then the district is obligated to have that child attend wherever the program is located.
Correct. So, of my understanding, I have a child that is in a different school district. She's my bonus child. She goes to a school that has an emotional support. If we add this extra person and the family says no, if I'm correct, that child can stay.
So for these particular children, those conversations are already occurring, and some of them are, we know that they started the enrollment process to come into the district.
Okay.
But they're actually moving into the district.
Okay.
Yep.
Because if I'm not mistaken, anybody that's outside the district, the family does have the option to keep them out. That's not something you guys know of right now that is a for sure, that they're coming in, that you want to add another teacher.
We want to add another teacher because we know that we have children that are ready to come back, right? They've met their goals at the outplacement, and we also have children that are transitioning from Peters Elementary School into 3rd grade. And IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, says that a school district and IEP teams must always start with the least restrictive environment, and a classroom within the child's home school is close to the top of that continuum of least restrictive environments.
Okay.
But again, I go back to ultimately it's an IEP team decision for each child.
That's why I was wondering if that was a guarantee, because I have a child in that situation, so I wanted to know if that was a guarantee that if you're going to spend the money for a teacher, do we have that child is definitely coming back into the district?
Yeah, and again, IEPs can change, but ultimately we know that we have children that are currently in the district, our children in our schools now, that are going to be aging up into that program.
Okay. Can I ask what the problem is with the water? Because going around and talking to some families, that was like the biggest thing that people were screaming about, brown water in the school. I don't have a child here right now, so I don't know.
So we've had it looked at several times by water company experts, and it's how the water is coming into the building from the borough.
Okay,
so we need to put a system in place that it comes into the building immediately into the filtration system, and then actually goes out into the plumbing into the building.
Okay. And then I have another question. If you guys don't do the common campus with the shortfall that we have already with raising the taxes, if you decide to do the 2% that you guys had done previously kind of consistently, how do you make up that shortfall? Where does that have to come from?
Could you, I'm sorry, I see a lot of people leaning toward you. Could you speak a little closer to the mic?
So
Thank you.
I asked about the shortfall.
Oh, much better.
If you guys decide that you want to do, because you average kind of a 2% increase, and you decide not to do the common campus, how would that shortfall be made up? Where would that money come from? Are you looking at options to make up that deficit now?
Well, we know that some programs wouldn't run, like for example, the summer programs. But we would also look to fund balance as well.
Okay. And then I had a question, but I didn't know we were allowed to ask about the field. What is the reason they can't use it?
We want to ensure that the grass itself is adhered.
Okay.
There's no electric run yet, and there's no data run yet. So it's still an open construction site in a way. So we want to make sure all that is finished and allow our varsity teams to be the first ones to hear that.
That was another question that when I was talking to people around town, they were saying, why can't we use the field? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yep. And it's just softball and baseball, so
Yes,
football
yes.
and soccer is still open.
Softball and baseball, and somebody said something about a part of the soccer, but they said the grass was growing there. Is the grass not growing on the field now?
On
On
which
the
field?
softball
No.
and baseball
So
fields.
softball and baseball, yes, the grass is sod. They laid sod.
So could they potentially start to use it at the end of summer?
Again, that's something administration and
We will monitor that.
But because of the investment, I mean, that's about 10 tractor trailer loads of sod that were installed on those two fields.
You have 1 minute left.
And we want to make sure that the root system is fully grown in. And the seams have come together, so there's almost no seams anymore. So we'll continue to monitor that.
And then I have one more question about the bond. So if you decide to do the common campus, you take out the 25-year bond. Is that saying that in the next 25 years, you won't have to take additional bonds out to cover the bigger expenses that won't be covered under the $50 million bond?
We will have to continue to monitor what projects come up and what priority they have. And then at those times, we would decide, are we going to do a bond? Are we going to do a bond in conjunction with potentially another tax adjustment? Or are we going to look at fund balance? So that's a repetitive cycle every single budget system.
3% you said for the next kind of, that average for the next 4 years, but that potentially could go up.
So that will address the bond and the expenditures that we know that we are going to have between now and 2030.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't there a max that we can go up the next few years? We know what our
Yeah,
index
you can't
already
go
is.
over the Act 1 index.
Yeah, we already know
Correct.
what the limit would be for the next few years, based on the Act 1 index.
Right.
Those projected Act 1s?
Those projected Act 1s. Pardon?
If Act 1 is projected, it's just.
Projected Act 1 index.
But it can go up.
In my recollection, I don't ever remember it going up. It's always been right around where it was or lower.
Okay, next we have Karen, it looks like Schlade. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for all the information tonight. Maybe some of you recognize my name. After the meeting last Monday, I emailed a 4-page letter to all of the board members. I got a response from Chad Chrisman, which was very nice. He actually used sentences and said something to me. Angela Williams and Natalie Snyder also responded. One person, my email came back and it said they were not accepting emails. And the rest of the people I haven't heard anything from, and I did send to the superintendent also. I don't know whether you saw it or not. So I guess I was a little bit upset that I didn't get a response, which made me think that kind of represents the people of the community. They don't feel like they're being heard. Whether you agree with what I said or not, as a taxpayer, I just think that you should have acknowledged that I at least, reached out. Chad let me know that there was going to be a time where you could ask questions tonight, so that's why I came tonight. I didn't really need to hear all the committee report, but I wanted to get some of the questions in. Also, when I think about balancing a budget, the key word is to balance, and you don't overspend for what you don't have. And things like you know, $1 million pole building just seems outrageous. And with the deficit, the shortfall that we're going to have of 860,000, and if we don't do the middle school common campus, it does bring it down to 360. And if we relook at another bid for the pole building or just each of the items, I don't know. I think it was someone said earlier about, you know, did we look at any other companies or get any other bids? So is this just one company that we've talked to and got this feasibility study from?
Last year, the school board authorized administration to go out for a request for proposals for feasibility studies. And we had, I think, 3 or 4 companies respond to that request for proposals. They submitted proposals. Alloy 5 was selected in conjunction with the McClure company to be they were awarded the contract to do the feasibility study. Okay, so they're the ones that were awarded it. That's just the feasibility study.
So you didn't really know the outcome of the numbers. They were just going to do the study.
So they did the study with projected cost. If the school board were to elect to move forward with bringing 6th grade here and putting an addition on the middle school, or putting additions on Slatington Elementary School, or even some of these other very expensive but just capital improvement projects, whether a common campus happens or not, we're required to go out to bid for those as we prepare to launch those projects. We're nowhere close to any of that yet. So the first request for proposals was just for a feasibility study. We are through that. We have the feasibility study. We have the recommendations from the feasibility study. Now the school board will need to make decisions about what, if any of those recommendations, do they want to do. Then that will give administration direction to say, okay, here's the project or projects that we want to do. We now need to start preparing to go out to bid for those projects. So it's very many steps, no matter which direction we go.
And I guess one of the biggest things was
1 minute left.
the transparency of just the survey did not, that does not represent the taxpayers, the small response that you got to the survey, because social media, like I said in my letter, you know, older people don't read that. And I think before we make a decision of moving forward with a common campus, I think a letter of explanation, and also it was interesting to see what our taxes, the amount that it would go up, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but to put that in writing and show that to the taxpayers along with a survey, because all they hear is the percentage and all the millions spent, and that just makes everybody panic. So I think a little bit more transparency and another survey should go out to really get a majority of the taxpayers' input before we make a decision. And I guess that's my time.
Thank you.
You're Karen Schleicher, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you for your input. I will forward to the board if you like. However, it's not the policy of the board to read written letters at our meetings. You may come and do so if you like. And I sent that to you, so I did reply. When you sent it just to me initially, that was my response.
That must have been today because I looked
What?
right before I came. That must have been just today then. Because before I came to the meeting, I checked everybody's response.
Dr. Lick, just a quick clarification. I'm
Sure.
sorry. The long-term planning project, just for clarification, all of those items are not in our budget. Some of them are proposed and some of them are in the budget based on if they're within the current year of the budget, correct?
Yeah, so the stuff in 2025.
Yep. Those are bucketed in
yeah,
based on those yellow
part of
highlighted.
what we're trying to work through now.
Right, so just
So
to
things
comment
like
on
the
what,
furniture, replacements, yes.
so just to comment on what Mrs. Schleicher said, the building, for instance, is not in our budget. It's just a look to the future of things
So
that we need to pay attention to that could be coming?
Right now, there's $500,000 built into the budget, the proposed budget.
Thank you.
If the school board would want to move towards building projects, meaning like putting an addition on this school.
Okay.
So that $500,000 is in the budget, plus those smaller things along the way that we were talking about, like the furniture.
Right, but the big things like the pole building and those types of things, those are future.
Yes.
Correct. Those are not in the current budget, that
Correct.
we can shift them and move them
Correct.
as things come up and around. So just for that clarification, that there are certain things that are shown that are not necessarily part of the exact budget. So when you see those numbers, there are future planning, as we look at future planning to make sure that there's money available when we need it, when those type of items come to the need of replacement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Patricia Nonamaker.
Thank you very much. The one thing that I do want to say is that I feel that the board, with all the taxpayers coming forward, you guys really need to be fiscally responsible. I understand what administration is wanting, but the common campus really should be canned, period. At least for now. Don't say, we'll look at it in the future. Just say no, period. Move on to the ongoing capital improvements. The water issue, if I'm not mistaken, has been going on since my granddaughter went to school here and she graduated last year. Okay, so between her education over at Slatington and here, that water's been dirty. Okay, to my knowledge. According to your Wikipedia description, whoever's keeping track of that, 1992, Peters was renovated and has added another wing, a second wing. So considering that information as well, it doesn't sound like, while I do know that capital improvements need to happen, they need to go along to spread the wealth to every school, okay? Fiscal responsibility is just ultimately falls in your hands. I encourage the board to approach the Slatington Borough for a traffic study because while I'm not an expert, it's gonna be a nightmare between busing, students being dropped off by parents, teachers trying to find parking places and parking out around other homes in the area. You're gonna get people upset with you with not at least taking that. So between a traffic study and also getting the roads repaired, I think that would, I know that's not your purview, but as far as that goes, you should approach this board down at Slatington for that kind of thing. The shifting millage responsibility to fund this project between taxpayers is not really an option the way that the solicitor suggested that it could go, because a lot of that is you have to be able to be approved for that money. Okay, so somebody like me that is retired, but I have a little bit more money, I'm still gonna be paying for whoever you now have to have that's gonna fund that, because the other taxpayer doesn't have to pay, but somebody else is still gonna have to pay because that money's gonna come due, and especially with the $500,000, I mean, I think the whole thing is like a nightmare. You're discussing the state funding expenditure reduction that you're getting, the money for that, and then in the next breath you say you want to do a common campus. So how is that reducing any of your expenditures? That would be my question to you. because it's just going to increase the district's funding for a common campus. Seems kind of counterproductive to me. Again, we're all homeowners, most of us, so we have to fix things up as they go, and I feel like the district should be looking at things like the water and the filtration system, the other things that need to be done that you would have to do the other things over time, you know, get that done. And then again, you know, you guys are looking for the money coming in. You're really not guaranteed. While you were talking about the money for the teachers and other districts had to go out and get loans and stuff like that, it takes the governor to sign the budget, and it takes a House and the Senate to all come together to create a budget. So the money may or may not be there for you, and the same thing with the federal level. They're shutting down the Department of Education, stated themselves. Where's the money going to come from? Okay, so these are all the things that I really hope the board considers, because once you start this project or say that you're going to start this project, you're committed, because 6th grade comes over here and then that building is going to Langer. Thank you so much.
And next, so come back to you, Mr. Bauer.
I wasn't going to speak, but I'm going to speak if it's okay.
It's okay, you signed up.
Like I said at the school board meetings, it was good to actually see these numbers. Like the gentleman said before, you know, hearing millions, it scares you, but looking at the smaller numbers, I could live with. The concern I have is the longevity of it and how much we will be spending. Like I said before, my daughter's got a good education. I believe that, how can I say, like the cooks, the janitors, they should be taken care of. Those are the ones, the teachers, those are the ones that should be taken care of. If we can fiscally take care of that with this commitment, I'm not so much against it. I don't want the school district to bite more than they can chew. And when you see the like common ground, yeah, it's good, but I think for me, I'd be more happy with, like, we all know, my kids, I said it at a school board meeting, Slayton Elementary, they had events there, that stank. Like, there's things, like, you look at this building, yes, it needs to be expanded, but can we do it in segments? And I think one thing that would be good is, not that my kids are involved in Slayton Elementary, but I still got the recordings, coffee and conversation. Those were going out, where there was an input. Maybe that's something that the administration and the school board can look at if, I don't want to say, yeah, just throw it off the books, but at the same time, you got to have people that would be involved that are open-minded, that are just not like, no, to everything, like get a mix of the community to actually go with it. Some of those, looking at those slides, it's very good that things need to be done. If I'm not mistaken, I think like the ventilation at the high school needs to be replaced. If anybody would actually see there, I was honored enough because of being in emergency services. We did a tour once of the building. When you see the stuff that is like deteriorating, or like the middle school, I think in one of the meetings they said there was a bubble class coming up. And I think one of the board members, it was Mr. Kern, that said, what about just the middle school? What if we would just do that, where you know those numbers, that class is coming up, and take small chunks. Don't say, you know, it's not a good idea not to have the common campus, but I think maybe sit back, a couple people already mentioned it, take small chunks, hit the majors, and if you accomplish that to getting to that point, because I think there was like another school officer that would have to be replaced. As a taxpayer, I'd sooner have more teachers, sooner have more staff, because I live in Walnut Park, the taxes are high, but I always say with those tax increases, my streets are clean, the services are good, almost like the teachers or like a church. It's not how big the church is, it's what's inside the church and actually how the pastor is. how that goes. It's one of those things scares me, is the longevity of 20, 30 years of those increases. Previous board meetings I discussed where my taxes have gone up every year since I lived in my house in 2004. And I'm almost afraid we go with this project here, what's going to happen, or we're going to look at teachers that, are going to say, oh, well, we can't do salaries or healthcare. Everybody knows, without getting political, healthcare, it's crazy, it's insane. And I'd sooner take care of the employees we currently have, because we have good employees, and not have to say, okay, we're going to lose teachers because another school district's giving them more, or something like that. So I think if we look at it as a whole big, and maybe not just even come up with the answer of saying, we're not doing this. Give it a little bit more time, get maybe a little bit more community engagement where it's positive and just not negative. Because what's that, a minute? Okay, and then I'd like to say is there's information or people you're seeing online, research it. Don't get caught up in the political, oh, well, we're gonna lose Medicare, Social Security. It's scare tactics by politicians. The Department of Education, they're seeing weaknesses with that, waste within the government, that DOG, everybody's so against it. They're seeing waste where all this money's going. Without getting political, research, and I think if everybody would come together, this can be accomplished, but the main thing is me being scared of the longevity of what this increase would be. Thank you.
And that concludes everybody that has signed up.
Okay.
I do have a question now. Didn't we replace the water fountains with filtered water? It was just a couple of years ago? Aren't they filtered?
Yes.
So
why are the
the
students
water
so-
fountains have filters within them.
Right.
Also, just running it in our FCS room, our home ec room, they don't have filters on the faucets in there.
Okay.
The particulate that comes into this building from the source outside of it, it's bad, meaning that it's a high volume of particulate, and we need to install a full building filter system, water treatment system.
What you're saying is, the students that are getting the water to drink, that water filter should be stopping it, or I'm saying, what is that?
It should be filtering it. We have our water tested.
Okay.
And I can guarantee you our water is safe for consumption because we do have it tested annually. And Peters, we actually test daily because it's on it's well water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't you say, Mr. Mann, that you felt that the dirty water was a contributing factor to the water leak that we had? at the
Absolutely, it's
school?
the hardness of the water at the high school, and the middle school.
Okay.
And that's part of the filtration system that we're talking. It would be a water softener / filter system.
Thank you.
Real quick, just to add to that, when was the last time, are there hydrants that are on school property that we own, or are they all borough-owned?
We own them.
We own. Do you guys do regular flushing of the hydrants?
We don't. I know at one time, the borough was up to do flushings. I couldn't tell you offhand the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only know because I used to be volunteer and part of flushing hydrants, you do that to get the sediment out of the lines, because no matter what you do, it always builds up. If it sits there for a long time, it's stagnant.
Well, Mr. Mann and his team, when we're coming back, we know we're coming back from a longer break, they will flush this building to try to bring down the particulate.
Okay. Sounds good.
Are we, it's
Sure.
up to your,
I can talk pretty loud.
I am going to ask that you come up here, though, because in that way, we're live streaming it, and the people at home, it picks up better off the mic.
It's just a quick question about the water. The main line that's coming in for the water that you say you want to filter, is that going to feed the campus too, or is that gonna have its own water main when it comes in?
Each building has its own water main, right? So this building does, the high school does, Slatington Elementary School does. What we want to do is put a water filtration, water softener system at each building, so when it comes
you
in.
put them at each building?
At each building.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
there's
didn't
not
know
a-
if
There's
you were-
not, I understand your question. So there's not a way that we could do one system
That was
for the
my-
three buildings.
That was my question. I thought
Yeah.
if you were gonna filter that main coming in, and then it was filtered through the whole.
No, there would be a system inside each building that the main into that building would go into, and then from
Okay.
the system, it would go out into the
Okay.
building. Yep.
Thanks. That's what I.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for the? So then I will close the Finance Committee and turn it over, Natalie's not here, Bob's not here, we're gonna turn it over to Chad for the extra and co-curricular meeting.
Well, thank you for turning it over to your third favorite in line. I guess, it's you, Dr. Link?
Thank you, Mr. Crispin. First, I would like to again welcome to her first extra and co-curricular meeting, our new Director of Athletics and Student Activities, Dr. Mary Ann Rush-Wallace. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know that you've been busy with Mr. Geis each week since you were board approved. Currently, Dr. Rush-Wallace is doing 3 days a week as a transition leading up to Mr. Geis' retirement, and then she will be with us here 5 days a week, full-time, July 1st. So again, welcome. Next, I would like to share out just a little bit of information. Last Tuesday, actually, I believe it was, several of us were able to visit our crochet club. So our middle school and high school has a joint club under the advisement of Mrs. Lisa Martinez and Mrs. Elizabeth Trantham. They are paraeducators here in this school. And what they realized was that a couple things. One, crocheting is kind of becoming a lost art for the younger generation, right? But they are both avid crocheters, and they thought, well, this may be something where we can engage our students. And I think the thing that I love, so they had kind of a show event where they had everything that they made since the start of the school year. Each student had a table in the middle school library here. And in fact, they have already crocheted so many things that they had to do an overflow onto the very long shelves under the window. So everything from blankets to little stuffed animals. One young lady crocheted a small kind of bulldog blue rose for every member of the theater department. Absolutely beautiful, very ornate, very intricate. And one of the things that I think is best about it is that it's low tech, it's no tech, right? So the children are in there interacting with each other, and they're not on their screens. They're actually having conversations with each other. Another young lady said the thing, I tried to ask every student there, what do they love about the club? One of the young ladies said, I love that I can start something here and I can take it home with me and I can continue to work on it at home, make progress there, and then bring it back to the club and continue to work on it. Another young lady said that she really enjoys teaching the new members that maybe never crocheted before. So she's actually teaching somebody else a hobby that person will be able to have for a lifetime then. So just a wonderful thing that we have going on here for our students. Very low expense, right? Very low. We pay the advisors a stipend. They actually share the stipend. They both said, we want to do it together. We'll share the stipend. And amazingly, remarkably, many community members, parents, faculty here are donating yarn. They're donating the hooks. They're donating gift cards to Michael's to go down and get more yarn. It was just a great event. The students were so proud of what they had on display for us. Their parents were there, their siblings were there, and two of our school board members were there, Mrs. Snyder, who's not here this evening, but also Mrs. Williams. And Mrs. Williams, is there anything you would like to share about it?
I love the turtles. They were awesome. I love the bats. There was this big, beautiful blanket. I would have loved to snuggle with it. It was very soft. I did speak to one of the students, and I asked, do you follow a pattern? And she said, no, I just start knitting, and she's making all these characters. And I was like, that's just amazing. But it was awesome. I really liked them.
Yeah, and thank you for going.
Yeah. And plus, they did have a whole bunch of blankets that they were going to donate to.
Yes.
Was it Vitals? And,
So, Forgotten Felines,
Yeah.
they did that thank you for reminding me
Yeah.
of that. So this club also gives back to the community. So far, they've made many little blankets, and they donate them to the cat rescue up here, Forgotten Felines, as well as earlier this year, they donated little caps, little beanies for newborn babies, and donated all those caps to the Ronald McDonald House, then to ensure that they get out into the hospitals for the infants that, I'm sure you've all seen the infants with the caps on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Our students are now making those for the Ronald McDonald House to turn around and give to little babies. So there is a service component to the club as well. That was it. I was just so happy to see that, and I just wanted to share that out as one of the amazing extracurriculars that we have going on in Northern Lehigh School District. And next, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rush Wallace for the spring sports update.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Lane, for the welcome. I appreciate that.
And Dr. Rush Wallace, I'm sorry, I'm going to do this to you, just so we can make sure everybody hears it. You can join us at the table, or you can use the microphone. Thank you.
The audience did it, so you have to do
it too.
As Coach Kresge stated earlier, the baseball team has been playing well, despite their record not reflecting it. They currently stand at 6-11. The softball team currently is at 8-8, so playoffs are in their near future. Both senior nights were scheduled to be this evening. However, this amazing weather has postponed it to Thursday evening. Colonial League Track and Field Championships were also scheduled for tomorrow and Wednesday. However, they have been rescheduled to the 7th and 8th, again due to this weather. The Colonial League and Schoolgirl League football all-star game was held here yesterday. That went off without a hitch. Mr. Geist has everything planned impeccably, so that went well. Middle school soccer is also doing very well. And then lastly, as far as retention for our student athletes, it's important to note that we've only lost 2 student athletes. And I think that speaks volumes about our coaches and the experiences that they're providing for the students. That's all.
Does anybody have any questions?
For either Dr. Rush Wallace or myself.
Has the fall football schedule been put together already? I assume it has.
We have.
Is it on the website?
It is.
Okay.
It's on, yeah, on the athletics.
I just thought I would ask while you're here. Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Chrisman?
Yeah, just one quick question. I guess either one of us can answer. Is it possible, I mean, obviously not you because you're retiring, unless we accidentally lose that or don't accept it. For next year, maybe moving forward for senior night for softball and baseball, would it be possible to schedule them on different nights? Just because we are in a small school and some of each players like to support each other, so when they're both scheduled the same day at the same night, it does make it a little difficult for, the baseball players to go support softball and vice versa.
I mean, I'll speak on that. As you may be aware, we're in a 2-year cycle. Yeah. We're currently in the middle of that 2-year cycle. So all the schedules have been planned for next year. Have we set every senior night? No. However, with making reservations at Breyfogle and at Walnutport, we've kind of hard penciled them in for those specific dates. We also share the senior night baseball night with that 2-year schedule with Palmerton. We've split the invoice no matter who's the home team so that we can both share senior night. We have some ideas moving forward after this 2-year cycle. I'll share those with Dr. Rush Wallace and as well as Dr. Link, which I think is going to incorporate our own fields, but I'll be able to share that once we kind of discuss everything from there.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody want to delve into anything
Anything else? No? Okay.
We're done here, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Safe drive home.